Welcome back into the zone. I'm Todd Leabo in for Jason Anderson and Sterling Holmes on this Friday. And we are pleased to be joined now by Ryan Lefevre, the face and voice of the Kansas City Royals, who you had a wild night. You had a little rain delay and everything last night, but you didn't have anything as wild as the hero last night, did you? This Josh Rojas story is unbelievable, Ryan. First of all, welcome to the show. And how about that one yesterday? That was wild.
Hi, Leabo. That was a first for me, and we weren't aware of that. I think Q had mentioned when I did my pregame interview with him that he wasn't sure, because they had already taken the field for batting practice. He wasn't sure if Rojas was there yet, but he never implied that he would be rolling in the eighth inning or whatever. And thank goodness for the rain delay. Otherwise, he may never get there in time to play the game. But yeah, that was a first for me.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Because and I don't think a lot of people understand exactly how it goes. Because when Joel was talking to him last night, there is a kind of like the old taxi squad that's around the team sometimes. If you need a player up, but then he was gone and he had to. Luckily it was not that far away. He played in 2 games in 1 day. There's a lot of things that happen around Major League Baseball in the rosters and the up and down that I don't think most people even understand how much goes into that. There's a lot of work to that, isn't there?
Yeah, the funny twist of that story is we had just been in Cincinnati, and Omaha was in Columbus. So they're, an hour and a half, hour 45, whatever. And because that was convenient, Rojas was actually with us in Cincinnati working out on the taxi squad, meaning that he's not on the roster, but he's available. And if you go by the rules, and they're pretty loose, but if you go by the rules, a taxi squad player is only to be around if there's the potential of someone going on the injured list. And based on what happened to Michael Garcia in Texas, there was still a likelihood he could go on the injured list, and so they were keeping an eye on him day by day. And hey, if the Storm Chasers are right down the road, let's bring up Rojas and have him take batting practice and work out in case they put him on the injured list. They decide not to, so then we fly to Minnesota. He goes back to Columbus, and lo and behold, we need him anyway because of a pitcher that's away from the team for a few days. So yeah, that had some strange twist to it.
Yeah, it's there is just so much stuff that kind of happens that you're like, okay, and then you're like, oh, that couldn't have ever happened before. I mean, you've been doing these a long time, and that's got to be a first for you last night.
And I was asked that, and I vaguely remember it may have happened with a player with Omaha, just because it's so close that maybe they'd gotten in both games. But
right.
Kurt Nelson, director of the Royals Hall of Fame, sent us a story about a Braves player who had done it in 1997. Well, that precedes me in Kansas City, so maybe I'm wrong, but somebody asked me that after the game. Do you ever remember that happening again? I said, vaguely, I can't put a name to it, but to play in one game and get the game-winning hit in a big league game the same day, I would like to think that's the first time in baseball history, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, especially it's his first game with the Royals. I mean, he's been in the bigs for lots of teams over the years, but you really maybe don't even know everybody very well. You just walk in and everyone's gone through their pregame stuff, and then all of a sudden you poke your head out there and you tell Q, all right, I'm here. And then they got to go and play. The season's been wild. But that was a good one last night. That's a good feeling. And it's been a good week so far. I know there was a tough loss in Cincinnati, but do you feel like things are kind of turning when they have won a couple of these close games now?
I hope so. And I hate to hang it all on the offense, but what they're doing what they did in Cincinnati and what they did in Minnesota last night are things that they just have not been doing for most of the first half. And that's scoring early and being able to add runs in the middle innings, and when the game is on the line in the later innings, someone comes up and gets the big hit. Now, that's not going to happen all the time, but it has to happen some of the time, and it just wasn't. And in my opinion, it feels like really for the last 2 years that there's been a feeling, and I don't know if this is the players or the preparation or whatever, but there's this feeling like, hey, this is going to turn. Let's not veer off the path here. It's a good offense. It has good potential. Let's just stay the course, and the runs will come, and we'll get the big hit. And it just hasn't happened. It hasn't happened really since Vinny got hurt 2 years ago at the end of August. in Houston. This team has really not hit consistently since the end of August in 2024. I mean, they really struggled to score runs in the final month of 2024. They didn't score at all in the postseason. I mean, they beat the Orioles 1-0 and 2-1 to advance to the series with the Yankees, and then they had one game where they scored some runs. So this has been going on for a while, but what got the team into the playoffs in 2024 was the ability to score one run. And when you get a chance to score one run, score it. And sometimes you'll get two, sometimes you'll get three. But they were really good about moving runners and getting runners home. And it just feels like that there's been this feeling of, oh, hey, don't worry, we'll get the big hit, we'll get the big hit, we'll get the big hit. Well, if you watch winning teams, yeah, they get their share of big hits, but they also don't squander opportunities to score a run when you get a chance to score a run. And I'm no analytical genius, Leabo, but I still believe that one run is better than zero.
Oh, for sure, and you got to find a way to do it. And there were so many times this year, you always remember the bad things, right? Bases loaded, nobody out, nobody scores. Or there were a couple times I remember going out and covering a game on a Monday, and like 3-0 counts and strike out. I mean, just little things like that. And we always talk about the moves that don't work and everything, but like last night, it seems like most of the things that Q did work. Pinch hit for Jack, and Lane Thomas gets a hit. Rojas comes in and pinch hits and gets a hit. Lang gets another chance and gets another save. So I think as many times as we, get analytical and say this is the wrong move because someone will find a reason it shouldn't be, I think most of the time none of us know as much about what's going on than the staff and all the work they put into it. But you ought to be happy and praise the times when the buttons get pushed and it works. And that last night was certainly one of those.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I learned that years ago. I remember doing a Sunday interview with Dayton Moore, and we would spend some time talking before we actually started recording, and we might talk about anything, who knows. But this was years ago, and I remember saying to Dayton, what if we let off what if we let off Leabo, and then we had Jason bat second?
Mm-hmm.
What if we did that? And he had this look on his face like he was pondering those. He goes, oh, that's interesting, and it just hit me. That's not interesting. You guys probably thought of that 6 months ago.
Right.
So anytime we think we're coming up with this brilliant idea, hey, why don't we lead off this guy, or why don't they move this guy down in the order? This guy needs to be benched. They've got an office full of people that are breaking down all these different scenarios. And it's fun for us, for conversation's sake, and, certainly in my job, and especially your job, to spur some discussion and all that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that it is very rare that I will bring something up to Q or JJ on a Sunday, and they don't have it's already been thought through.
Right, I got 7 answers for that already. Yeah.
You and I may not agree on the conclusion they come up with, but it's not like it's something that hasn't been discussed. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, and this team is set up in a way where they want to use the entire roster. And so if you want Lane Thomas to be sharp, you got to play him every now and then. You can't just wait until, a month from now and there's a big moment and you bring him in against a tough lefty. So that's one thing that they really do believe in, that they want the entire roster to be sharp. And in order to do that, some guys have to play. And when they play, other guys have to sit.
Yeah, and finding a way to get the runs is important, and however they get them is fine. They just got to do it more consistently. Maybe that'll come around. I mean, there is maybe not entirely proven numbers everywhere on this roster, but you don't have to play over your head to be better than what they've done. And I think sometimes these things, can get a little bit mental in baseball because you have a lot of time to think. Your time you're at the plate, especially with the pitch clock now. I mean, what do you maybe 3-4 minutes at the plate for a night in all of your at-bats? Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. So the whole rest of your day, you got to think about it. And I don't know, and I think all of these guys care a bunch, and I think they work really, really hard. And I this is something that just a guess on my part, but it's, counterintuitive to it, the way they work baseball now, is I think sometimes there's maybe too much thought into how to fix things, and sometimes you just need to get away from that kind of stuff. But that seems impossible these days because, this staff is a whole lot bigger than it was before. There's so much more data, there's so much more video, there's so much more information than they ever had before. I don't know if that works for every player, but I guess a lot of these younger guys have grown up in that. I mean, they're probably using data and stuff like that in high school these days. But it seems to me like they got to find a way to simplify it sometimes.
Well, I had coffee yesterday morning with my college coach, John Anderson, and he retired a couple of years ago after 40 years as head coach of the University of Minnesota. And on the way out, they were dealing with that stuff here in college, and he was having to adapt to the type of data that these kids wanted. Well, how do you end up in college wanting that data? Well, you probably get some of it when you're in high school. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think it is an expectation. It's the language that they speak now, and that's fine. But it's bio-individual in that it's what works for one guy doesn't necessarily work for the other guy. And so Michael Massey, for instance, I don't know if you watched the game last night, but we blew out a commercial break for him to break down his 10-pitch at-bat when he ended up getting a base hit. And, I mean, it was a very well thought out. He's a deep thinker about, tunneling and the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand, the different tunnels that he considers and how that relates to the zone that he's looking for against that particular pitcher and how he can eliminate certain zones because if a pitch starts here, it's a breaking ball, it's going to end up being a ball. So by process of elimination, he identifies an area of the plate where he's going to expect the ball and be ready. And he was very articulate. I thought he explained it in a way where if you don't understand tunneling or whatever, it might make some sense. But I can tell you there's a lot of hitters on that roster that don't think that deeply about it. I mean, do you think Bobby goes up there and thinks about 8 different tunnels when he goes up there? But that's Bobby Wood Jr. I mean, he's just physically gifted in a way where he can see ball, hit ball. Mm-hmm. He prepares, but probably not the way Michael Massey does. So, yeah, I think the industry is starting to, instead of just throwing out all this information and saying, hey, you need to know this, you need to know this, you need to know that, I think what they're finding now is here's the information, and now you use what you think is going to be helpful for you. Because some guys, it is truly paralysis by analysis, and I think that's why you see some of the younger players taking a lot of called third strikes on fastballs because in their mind they're thinking about percentages and okay, what did that pie chart look like with this guy? When he throws a slider, what percentage of the time in this count? And then the pitch you've been wanting all night, a fastball right down the middle, goes by without a swing. That's overthinking. And so that's part of the game today is guys figuring out how they want to manage all this information.
Well, that's the job of the hitting coach and his staff is to find out who wants, X amount of information and who wants Y amount of information. And, you don't want to push too hard on someone who doesn't want it, because these guys are stubborn. I mean, they're definitely stubborn. I remember talking to Alex Gordon about this, and he's told the story a bunch of times. It took him to where he was, struggling so much. We finally just released it, and Kevin Seitzer helped him. You know what I mean? You have to get there at some point, and you can try your best. So the challenge is trying to figure out how to give the information in the way that you think will help the player, that they will accept it.
Well, I have 2 interesting perspectives. When I was a kid and watching my kids. So my dad was a major league hitting coach for years and years. And the feeling at the major leagues was when you got to the big leagues, I mean, you were already a good hitter. And major league hitting coaches were not standoffish, but it was up to the player more times than not to initiate conversation. Hey, what do you see? What do you think I'm doing wrong? And the job of the hitting coach was just to get the hitters ready for the game. Give them some feedback here and there, maybe ask the right questions. But it was incumbent upon the hitter to approach the coach. And so in the information age now, I think maybe we've gone the other way where it's like, hey, you need to be doing all of these things. I was only a college baseball player, but I can tell you that I was at my best when I wasn't thinking about anything but seeing the ball and hitting the ball. Now you're in a stadium with 40,000 people. It's on radio and TV, and a guy's throwing 98 miles an hour. I mean, it would be even more difficult if your mind is filled with all this information. And so I think that's the way it still should be, that when a guy gets to the big leagues, he's here for a reason. He's good. But I think it's still up to the hitter to initiate, hey, what do I need to do? Where do I need to make adjustments? Now, how that translates to me as a father now with kids who play baseball, I go to their games, and I just like to sit and watch. I mean, it's 14-year-old baseball, 12-year-old baseball, whatever. But the amount of parents that are coaching from the bleachers, like, hey, get your hands up, or hey, don't stride too far, or hey, it's just they don't understand that even even a kid at that age, like his at-bat is over once there's 2 or 3 voices in their head. I mean, it's just too much, even at that level. They're either going to get a hit or they're not going to get a hit. And then the next time up, maybe you say, hey, you know what I think you did wrong was this. Then when they go to the plate, you just have to think about seeing the ball, hitting the ball. And I see that all the time, and I just kind of laugh inside. You're not helping him right now by doing that. And you fast forward that to the major leagues. The hitting coaches are not yelling at the hitters from the dugout, hey, do yours with your hands, do it with your feet. Once they leave the on-deck circle and go to the batter's box, they need to have as little on their mind as possible. So, yes, it's a very interesting dance. All this information on one hand and wanting to have as little on your mind when you step into the batter's box as possible.
Yeah, it's really tough to do. We are talking to Ryan Lefevre, Royals and Twins tonight. 3 more up there. You guys are you doing radio tonight? Because it's on Apple, right?
I am off tonight.
Oh, totally off. What a nice
They don't want me tonight. Yeah, nobody wants me tonight.
So when you're off, do you go to the game?
No.
See?
No, in fact, I'm in my hotel room and I'm looking. I can see Target Field. And no, but usually it's the radio guys are still on, obviously. And but usually guys on the TV crew, we might get together and have dinner or something.
There you go. Like enjoy, You know. You can't watch the Stanley Cup tonight. That was last night. I know you love the hockey, too. That was a wild one last night during your game. But I wanted to ask you about the closing situation at this point. Obviously, listen, Lucas had a couple of tough outings for sure, the one with the Yankees and then the one in Texas. I thought he deserved better outcomes in those. But that's baseball, right? You know, you break bats, and sometimes you don't get the right result. But you give up the home run the other night in Cincinnati, and Alex Lang got a couple of chances now. This ain't 2014 or 15. I think they just have to find a way to get those outs, whoever it is. Are they going to try to ride the hot hand? I mean, I guess Q said maybe look at some matchups. What's the plan moving forward?
Yeah, he said that they're going to go matchups for now, but they still view Lucas as a ninth inning guy eventually. I mean, this is the same guy that stepped up big time at the end of 24 and in the postseason. I mean, so it's in there, but he's never really experienced anything like that. I mean, every closer, I think, has experienced, obviously, they've experienced a blown save or maybe a couple of blown saves, but he's going through a stretch right now where it's like nothing's working for him. But his velocity's there and his movement's there. We're seeing the chain reaction of you take one important part of the piece of the bullpen out and, everyone just kind of moves up. And they're all in roles now that they're not accustomed to having. I mean, even Urseg 2 years ago, that was toward the end of the season when they were riding his hot hand, and he's confident and he's competitive. So I think the goal is still to get back to him eventually. But Monty had a great illustration of what happened to him in 1997 a couple of nights ago, and how he was an all-star one year, then he had surgery, and his arm just wasn't responding like he had hoped. Urseg isn't hurt, but he was hurt quite a bit last year. So, they think he's 100%. But whether your arm is injured or your ego's injured or whatever, that I think we figured out that Monty pitched one game over 11 days. He just kind of took a step back, able to let himself breathe. And then he finished the season, and then he saved 36 games the next year. So even someone like Monty with 304 saves, there was a point in his career where taking a step back, regathering himself, and he's able to get back to his form the next year. Now, the Royals need Lucas Ursig sooner than next year, but I think it was just a good example of just taking a break, and they have some guys who are capable for the long haul, I don't know, but capable for now until he pulls it back together.
Yeah, I really am rooting for him. I think he's a great guy with a great story. And, I've talked to him a lot of times just in the clubhouse, just chatting, and I really, he's one of those guys you want to succeed. And I hope he gets another chance. Maybe tonight will be the chance. I don't know.
First-class guy, you're right.
Yeah, because Lang, he threw 2 nights in a row. It probably won't be him tonight in the 9th inning, although every one of these guys, that's one of the other things I think is interesting. They have to trust these guys. They talk to them every day. Can you go today? Can you not? The player has to be honest. The coach has to believe what the player's saying. To know whether or not they really can go out. Because the guys don't want to tell you, no, I can't go. That's just not the way it works.
Right. And getting back to what we were talking about a couple of questions ago, they also know a lot more than we do. So if they don't use a guy a particular night, there's always a reason. It's not, but, oh, shoot, we forgot to write Lynch's name down on the lineup card. We forgot he was out in the bullpen. Those things don't happen. There's always a reason. It may not always work. And, again, people may not agree with it, but there's always a reason that they sequence relievers the way that they do.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan Lefevre is our guest. One more thing to talk about before we go. Everyone around here is excited. Kansas is in the Super Regional in the NCAA tournament. You were talking about you played at Minnesota. You played, did you guys go to the, I'm looking this up, did you guys go to the tournament all of your years? You made the three years?
I was there, yeah.
So you didn't make a Super Regional. What
is the have Super Regionals then? So when I played, there was one big regional, and if you won that regional, you went to Omaha.
You went to Omaha. So what was the pressure like when you guys were playing for Minnesota in these baseball games at the end of the year? Because I think people are kind of feeling it around here for the first time in a long time.
Well, it was a little bit different when I played, because I don't think it was until maybe my senior year that they started to limit the amount of games that you can play. So my sophomore year, because of the weather, we went out to Florida State, and we opened against Florida State. They were number one in the nation. They had played 17 games. We hadn't played a game yet. They had played 17 games, and 16 had been at their ballpark. And we won 1 out of 3, I think. But it was just, I remember it was just everywhere we went. We would go to Arizona to beat one year because of the weather, and they had already played a lot of games. So that was advantage number one if you're a northern school. I'll refer to Kansas as being, northern. They're not a southern school.
Right.
Midwest, I think, it's tied into the north, and I think that's fair. So there was that advantage. Now, they fixed that. The other disadvantage was, if northern schools, Midwestern schools, one of the NCAA tournaments we went to was at Wichita State. So that was about as far north as we went. But we were at ASU one year and USC one year. And it's just really, it's really hard. You're always, if you're a Midwestern school or a northern school or an eastern school, you're always trying to accomplish big things out of town at someone else's ballpark. And almost always, it feels like, whatever team was hosting that regional always seemed to advance to Omaha. One year we got within 2 games of going to Omaha. So that's something that we always wanted. We're in Minnesota. We'd like to host a regional.
Right.
And then the super regional, you got 2 regionals. And so one year, not that long ago, Minnesota, I'm long gone at this point, but probably within the last 6-7 years, they hosted a regional, and guess what? They won.
Yeah.
And they advanced, and they had to go to Oregon State, and if they won that, they would have gone to Omaha, and they didn't. Oregon State won, and they went to the College World Series, maybe even won the College World Series. So
they won a couple.
So my point is that the fact that KU can just host a regional helps, I think, the imbalance in. Because it's so favored to the South, and I don't mean that as far as a conspiracy or something like that. But if you really want parity in college baseball, there has to be more opportunities for teams like KU to be able to host a regional. Because look at what happened. Now, if they go somewhere else, do they win? Maybe. I'm not saying they won't, but it's just so tilted toward these powerhouse programs that are hosting in their own backyard, and it's really hard. I don't know how big the crowds are. I know they've been much better the last 2 years, but I don't know how the crowds have been in Lawrence compared to going down.
They're doing a nice job with that. It's a very small stadium, and the students have really gotten into it, and they've gone out there. And you can't get a ticket to the regional or the super regional. It's crazy. So,
but I'm in a regular
season game. Yeah, I got a buddy whose kid's he's a sophomore out there, and he's had a great time going for 2 years to these games because the team's fun. And they win,
right.
And it's on campus and it's cool. But no, it's not like the SEC ones,
Then you go, and then you're playing a regular season game in Lawrence, and you have a nice crowd because the fans care about KU baseball now, and that's great. But then all of a sudden you're in a regional and you're at LSU,
right?
And there's 10,000 people there. You haven't played in that environment yet against a team that's comfortable. It's really hard. So I'm really happy they're doing well, and I'm really happy they got a chance to host a regional. Because look what happened.
Yeah, they won. Now, we're going to root for Oklahoma this week, okay, because it's a super region. We want the Sooners to win. But
come on, Leabo. You've been here long enough now. Let that go.
I'm all good, man. It's all good. Ryan, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy your day off, man. Thanks for taking some time with us, talking some Royals baseball. We'll see you back at the ballpark here next week.
All right, Leabo. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Ryan Lefevre, face and voice of our Kansas City Royals here in town. It's interesting. You didn't have to do anything tonight. Good thing. Apple TV, day off in Minnesota. Go watch some baseball, have a nice dinner, enjoy it. I like that. I like that. Good talk there about college baseball, too, because Ryan was a very good college baseball player, and he's right, it's tougher up in those Big Ten schools. We will take a quick break here on The Zone, come back at 11 o'clock. Matt Derrick will be in studio talking some Chiefs. Welcome back into The Zone. You guys are in there talking about how much you bench. What am I walk into in there? My gosh. Darcy and Zach, the sales guy, walk
Just
down the hall.
a couple dudes being
Why
dudes.
you get 225 up 12 times? Dudes being dudes.
When are we going to have a Sports Radio 810 Combine? When is that going to happen?
Organize it. We have to have age groups.
At that age groups.
Because we're not young anymore. We did a funny one once. We had Garrett Bowl, Frank's son, was a really good high school athlete, played football at Blue Valley, and he was in shape. And he used to run Petro Show, and we had him run a 40, I think, because he said he was fast or whatever. And I think it was a Friday. Someone will probably text me and remind me of this. I think that's after a Thursday. So Thursday night was a night to go out. And I think he had just eaten a whole big burrito. Anyway.
Sounds like a lot of excuse making.
He did throw up after he ran. I think he maybe ran the 40 twice or something. I don't know. He threw up.
I thought you were going to tell me the time.
No. I don't know the time. I know that it didn't end well for him.
It couldn't have been impressive that if he threw up.
Nah, he ran and he threw up a little bit. That happens. Then we've had, Jake popped his Achilles. No, he popped his knee playing a basketball game for charity. Danny dislocated his kneecap practicing for that basketball game. So we're maybe past being really athletic.
Sounds like I could do really well.
I
if
think
we set
you'd be
this
all
up.
right. I think you'd be all right. Now, but Sterling would want to have golf involved. Not
Of course
good for
he would.
you.
The most unathletic. Well, you don't have to be super athletic to play golf. I'll just say that.
Well, but you have to have some skill.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not really what a combine tests.
You just
though.
want to test how fast you run, how much you bench, and how high you jump.
Sure.
Okay.
The vert's not going to be good.
You ready for the Wonderlic test?
Yes.
Okay.
That takes some skill.
How do you think that'd go around here? Got some dummies. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. We'll ask Matt Derrick what he thinks. He's been to the combine. What he thinks, how you do at the combine. You look like you do better than most of us because you're young.
Who finishes last in the Wonderlic here at the station? Put you on the
Someone in
spot.
sales.
Okay.
Easy. Not me.
I think it'd be an issue of completing it. Like that, the Wonderlic is like what, 50 questions?
Yeah, you got to go fast. Well, not many people complete it. You just do the best you can.
But if you don't complete it, those counts as misses, right?
You just get right however many you get right. But if you work slowly and get all of them you answer correctly, then that's a good thing. But if you work really quick and miss them all, what's the point?
I think I would overanalyze every question and probably
That's
answer
probably not
4 or
good for
5.
you.
Yeah,
That's probably not good for you then.
wouldn't do it well.
No, not good at all. Matt Derrick still to come, and we'll also talk to Brian Haney. Welcome back into the zone. I'm Todd Leabo. In on a Friday. No Jason Anderson. No Sterling Holmes. No Mick Schaefer later today, but always standing at his post is Matt Derrick. How you doing, Matt?
I am just dandy. I am just impressed by the way that you make radio work.
We're trying. We're trying, man. It's a wild day. You know, there's a lot going on, and it's an interesting time of year. You know, you've been out at Arrowhead, and you've seen all the things happening for the World Cup in the parking lots. You know, everything's coming that way. So a lot of our guys, Seren was on vacation last week, and Jason is on vacation this week, and Steven's going to be on vacation next week because we're kind of all going to be around in the city because not that the soccer matches particularly matter, but there's lots of activities going on. There's client fan fest and all these kind of things, so everyone's kind of got to be here for that. It was interesting. I was talking to someone in the TV, and used to be in television you couldn't go on vacation during sweeps. It was November sweeps and May sweeps, and this year they told them you can go on vacation in May, you can't go on vacation in June because we got to have you around for this stuff. So we got a lot of things going on, and so that means that I'm hosting the zone, and like Monday I'll be hosting New Day, and last Friday I was hosting the program. Whatever needs to be done, I'm here for it.
And
the best
on top,
ability is availability, and I'm here.
Exactly, and that's on top of your day job.
Yeah, and on top of just doing the other things.
Exactly.
I'm glad there was no Chiefs practice today or anything like that. So we have 3 of them next week. We'll have, and it's going to be. I keep looking
and a
at
half,
2 and we
yeah.
probably don't even Thursday even get to go on the field. I think
No,
they
'cause they're
pretty
gonna
much
do
said
the conditioning test.
They'll do the test.
Yeah.
You guys just show up, which is fine.
And then some people come in and talk.
That's right.
And
I've been looking at the forecast. It's going to get steamy next week.
yeah,
Be a little sweatier on the field. It was nice these 2 practices we were out for.
I thought last week was a little humid. It was
a little
mild,
humid, but it
and
was still like 80 degrees,
cloudy,
yeah.
So it was okay. The other day was a little dicey.
Yeah, it got
So-
sweaty. I only made it for half the practice. I was like, I wasn't feeling very good, so I was like, I stood out there for about half of it. I'm going in. I saw EB get mad, take everyone off the field. I said, it's not going to get any better than this.
Yeah, that was the highlight. So
You know, I saw all that stuff, so it was fine. You know, watching football practice is not the most exciting thing in the world, but we watch it because we can. You know,
Exactly.
And someday you won't be able to. We generally can't watch much of anything during the regular season. You get to watch that first 10 minutes to count heads and see who's there, and then it's over. So at this time of year and then up at training camp, you watch because you can. Has anything, and it's, in my opinion, very hard, and the next week will be better because it'll be everybody there. Can you glean anything from these 2 that we've watched?
I think you can glean a couple of things, but you know, when you only see 2 out of 6 practices, there's so many things that you're missing. We've missed 2/3 of what was happened on the field the last 2 weeks. So, and when you don't see things back to back, you don't know what they're working on. You don't know how they're rotating. So, you know, everybody got excited and freaked out last week because Esapole and Chu Godric, and didn't really know about Chu Godric, but I'm talking about Chu Godric anyway. We're splitting time at right tackle, and then, you know, this week it changes. You know, you don't know what they're doing and what they're working on and what Andy Heck is going through his mind at any particular moment in time. There's other things, though. Like, I mean, I've seen 5 practices now, I guess 4 practices technically, with Cyrus Allen. That kid's good.
Yeah.
He's going to be good. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be the next second coming of Tyreek Hill or anything like that.
But it looks like a player.
He looks like a player who can play immediately and help you out a little bit.
Well, they probably need that.
They probably need that. You know, a couple of your rookies that you're counting on to have a quick get-off, they look like they got a quick get-off. You know, we'll figure out the rest of it when the pads come on, if they can play the rest of the game. but
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to see week over week, and especially next week too, because we'll get to watch it more for a couple of them, is just how Patrick Mahomes looked moving.
yeah,
You know, because we saw, a month and a half ago, the video in some indoor facility somewhere, and then the Chiefs put a video out last week before we were out there for OTAs. Oh, he threw a ball. But I think, you know, not some eagle eye here, but it looked to me like he looked more comfortable, yesterday or 2 days ago than he did the week before.
yeah.
And I think they're having him move a little bit more, do a little more lateral movement things. I don't think there's anything that I've seen from him that dissuades me from thinking he's not going to be rip-roaring and ready to go when it comes time.
I mean, you know, considering we are still almost. Well, we are 3 months. We're 3 months away from a little bit more than 3 months away from the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's plenty of time. I mean, he's got a lot more work to be able to get done. And, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that he hasn't done yet. He hasn't gone under center. He doesn't have pads on, hasn't been on a field with 11 players yet. I mean, hasn't started really cutting or doing all of those things. And let's face it, there's a lot of stuff this year he's not going to do that you've seen Patrick Mahomes do before. He's not going to have the mobility this year that he's had in the past. He might surprise you with some of his mobility because I know I've seen this guy long enough to know that he's going to push himself beyond the extreme.
Yeah, when you least expect it.
But with that brace and that knee and not being 100%, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be Dan Marino back there, just a statue. It's heaving the ball around. But here's the other thing you know about Patrick Mahomes from watching him in just the 7-on-7 the last 2 weeks. The difference between him and, bless his heart, Justin Fields, is the difference as a radio broadcaster between me and you. I mean, I'm just here facilitating some reps.
Yeah, Fields is just an interesting guy to me because he, gosh, he's been all over the place. He's clearly got some sort of talent that people like. Yeah. Because he keeps getting jobs. He must be, they feel like they like him, I guess, and maybe learn the offense or do whatever. But, yeah, it doesn't look the same.
And I thought the same thing about him that you said about Mahomes. I thought he was a lot more comfortable this week than last week.
For sure, yeah, getting more reps.
And he looked like, as far as the two practices we've seen, we finally saw him get into a little bit of rhythm at the end of the practice on Wednesday. And, hey, there's still a lot of work to go. And I still think that he's not a guy. Once again, you don't have guys that can just come in and run the same offense that Patrick Mahomes has. I still think that there's some things from like the Alex Smith playbook that they could probably put in for him if he needs to play a little bit, or if you really see him as maybe a guy that could come in and give you a gadget play every once in a while. There's some things that he can do, and he had a couple of throws the other day. Honestly, a couple of throws to Xavier Worthy that were just great throws. You could see it. He had the one deep ball that Worthy had.
He's got an NFL arm.
Had Jaden Hicks beat, and he dropped that on the dime perfectly. I think he had the crosser as well. Probably should talk about that Mahomes back shoulder throw to Worthy in the end zone. It was a really impressive throw and play. Haven't seen a lot of those from the Chiefs in the past. So seeing that was pretty cool.
Right through Delane, right?
Yeah, Delane did everything he could.
But it just right under, perfectly thrown and caught. They work on a lot of drills, and this is stuff that, I think I talked about this last week. I think it was last week early when we get to see the wide receivers, and they're doing this drill where they're throwing a towel up when the guy's trying to catch the ball. I had not seen that before. Do you remember seeing the throw the towel up?
Nah, it seems like another Chad O'Shea original.
Yeah, he just brought it in, and it's like, well, that's interesting. Of course, why don't you throw some up? Just distract them a little bit, But things like that, you need to be able to catch the ball. And they were saw the linebackers coming over. They're standing behind this pole, and they were throwing the ball either way, and they're trying to reach around and catch the ball around. So they're coming up with little funky little things to do that you'll never see those in like the football game, but they lead to something that can mimic that in a football game.
I like that, and I like the Dave Tobe throws a hat sometimes to distract kick returners and everything. He also does the one where he'll hold them by the shoulders facing away from the kick and then turn them around when the ball is at its apex and everything, and you can go find it. I like those better than putting the guy sitting in a porta potty and then opening the door.
Yeah, that was silly. But, they're working on some stuff. Let's talk about O'Shea a little bit, because when the first time we were out there at the rookie camp, we all noticed, we're like, what's this? We hear a coach talking? Connor Embry was a soft-spoken guy, and he was probably became the wide receivers coach out of the fact that he was still there when other people had left, and they were a playoff team. You couldn't go hire people. It's just timing is the deal. And I think one of the things, we'll see if it all works out, one of the things that was beneficial for this organization by being eliminated when they was they got a chance to go out and change the staff a little bit, because they had full run at whatever they wanted, because they weren't busy working on playoff
First
games.
time in a long time.
And O'Shea's got an interesting past, because he started here under Vermeil, was one of those unpaid guys, special teams, whatever. He was a quarterback in college, and he's worked his way through, and he was a big part of the Patriots when they were really, really good.
Yeah.
But then, when that thing fell apart, then he's been kicked around the league a little bit here and there as a coordinator, this, that, and the other. And now he's gotten himself here as a wide receivers coach. And he looks and sounds like there's a level of professionalism and expectation that maybe wasn't there for the past year or so.
Yeah, here's the oddity is that, Connor Embry was a young guy, but I always felt like Connor Embry, just because of, you mentioned it, his style, he's a little bit more soft-spoken. He struck me as probably being a better coach for a veteran group that kind of knows what they're doing, and they just need somebody as their wide receivers coach to kind of facilitate things and just kind of keep them, fresh and going. And I still say, for the most part, I mean, if you're counting on your wide receivers coach in the NFL to make you a better player, not going to happen. They don't get you on the field enough. They don't have enough one-on-one time to do that. If you're going to become a better wide receiver, you better be doing it on your own between March and July, because if you don't do that, you're not going to get any better. But Embry struck me as, being a guy that's probably pretty good for a group of veterans. But O'Shea he's a disciplinarian. I mean, like you said, he wants things done, and he wants them done quickly. He wants them done correctly. He's hard on these guys, and that's probably better for a young group of receivers, and that's what the Chiefs have. I mean, it's a young group.
Well, that moment where we'll play this Eric Bieniemy thing, I know we talked about it a bunch, where he kind of took the guys off the field, but like right before that, O'Shea was screaming too at his receivers.
Oh, yeah.
He was screaming, and then Bieniemy started screaming and said, "All right, forget about it, get off the field." And so that was, I think, very. I don't know, and sometimes you don't know if they kind of do this on purpose to go into prison and punch the biggest guy in the face or whatever. But I don't think it was planned. But they both, whatever they saw they didn't like, and it didn't get fixed real quick. And then, it was weird because Andy was kind of like good cop after that. He's like, let's go, let's hustle,
Yep.
It's a weird thing that we got to see that thing go down.
Oh, and I think this is one of the absolute overlooked pieces about EB coming back, is that Andy and EB used to have a really good cop, bad cop thing going between them.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't really do that with Matt Nagy. I mean, with Matt Nagy, it kind of made Andy be the bad cop. And that's not their best role. So, Andy being the good cop, being able to love people up, and EB being able to rip people up, and occasionally they're going to flip it. But no, they've got a good cop, bad cop dynamic that's going for them. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a little dynamic change for sure. And, it's interesting. Eric doesn't know all these guys. You kind of forget how long he's been gone. Time kind of just got away from us real quick there. So, there's a lot of turnover in the league. But he barely coached Trey and Creed. Obviously knows Patrick and Travis and them. He's around Noah Gray, but a lot of new guys that he wasn't a part of. But it was interesting that we got to see them pull basically the first team off the field.
And the funniest thing about that whole thing to me was that, EB was like, okay, get out of here. Pull everybody in the next. And Mahomes was hanging around like, you don't mean me.
No, everybody.
He thought he was staying in, and it was just everybody else was coming out.
Everybody.
And it was like, nope, you too. And then his body language was just like, really, me?
Yeah, we got to get this thing right. So here's Eric kind of talking about running practice and dealing with things like that.
Well, it's always about over-communicating clarity. One thing, when we get in the huddle, we need to know as a group what position we're playing. Something so simple. But because of that, just what I just said, the little things becomes a big thing because we're not over-communicating with each other. Now there's a problem within the huddle, and that impacts everything. So, you know what? You kick them off the field, and you let the next group go because we don't have time to waste. We have to continue moving forward. But now we can utilize that particular moment, as a life lesson moving forward. Now, because if that was to happen on a game day, hell, we hear it from you guys, right? We burned the timeout, coming out after a timeout. Hell, we get a 15-yard penalty. Everybody's booing the hell out of us. Shit, it'd be bad. You know what I mean? So those lessons need to be taught when those situations present themselves.
And he taught it real quick right there. And, I'm hearkening back. You were talking about the rotation at right tackle, and Jawan Taylor's not here anymore. Jawan Taylor was very frustrating to a lot of people. That he lined up in games with his foot too far back, and never seemed to really get it figured out. Many times people said that probably wouldn't happen if Eric Bieniemy were here because it wouldn't get through at practice. Because you don't do that in the game as often as he did without someone just looking over it on practice.
Yeah.
Now, Andy Heck, we talked to him about it many times, and he was frustrated. He's like, I don't know what the hammer is you have other than playing time. They can't find these guys, I don't think.
Not really for things like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's you're right. I mean, there's not much of a hammer other than playing time. And, again, maybe it is a little bit of just drilling it into them. And, I mean, Matt Nagy's an offensive coordinator. I think he's got a lot of strengths. EB's got his own strengths and weaknesses. Everybody does. But discipline and accountability is pretty high on the strengths of EB's list.
Yeah, and it's just the way the message gets delivered, too. And I do think, I think probably, it just felt like when Eric's last year here, maybe the message had just gotten a little old because they had heard it so much because he'd been here for a long time, either as a running back coach or offensive coordinator, and the same guys were here, and maybe he gets a little tired of it because that happens, and then you need a new message. So this is an old message, but it's a new message because he's been gone for 3 years.
And you probably remember this even better than I do, but it's always kind of stuck with me about the fact that, hey, some styles don't work with everybody. And some people may hate your coaching style, but they may also really respond to it. Mm-hmm. And my classic was Terry Shumpert when he was with the Royals, because Terry Shumpert hated Hal McRae to the point where the Royals eventually had to trade Terry Shumpert because they just didn't get along and everything.
Wasn't going to work.
But Hal McRae absolutely got the best out of Terry Shumpert because once he went to the Red Sox and moved on, he was never the same player again.
Yeah. Sometimes you need the message, and you don't know you need it.
And I mean, hey, Travis and all Patrick, all these guys, they all had their best years when EB was around. So I think part of it is also that they just realized that, hey, you know what? Matt Nagy's nice and everything like that, and they had some good moments under Nagy too. But hey, EB's got his own special style.
Nothing worked the way they really wanted it to. I think they wanted. I mean, Andy tried so hard for years to talk Eric up, and he had plenty of head coaching interviews, but he never got one of those jobs. That would have been the ideal thing, Eric to go get to be a head coach. Well, it didn't work out, and then he ended up having to, take a desperation type job at a place they knew they were going to blow up. When he went to Washington, and then now you're just out there in the world. You go to UCLA, you're back in college, and then that blows up. And then
that was kind of the same thing too.
And so he was just kind of hanging around trying to find his way, and they really. I think, Andy for the last year or so talked Matt up. He deserves another head coaching job. And all these openings, he didn't get one of those. But they had I think they had already in their minds thought, we need to make this change. We want it to go this way. Neither one of them has been as clean as they wanted it to be. But I guess things work out the way they work out.
And you know what? It doesn't necessarily mean that this move with EB is going to work out. I mean, it may not work out the way that they planned and expected to. I think it probably will because players do seem to be responding. Seem to be working, and they hit some other buttons too. I mean, the Kenneth Walker move and rebuilding that entire running back room and bringing in DeMarco Murray. I mean, I think that's right now looking like it's going to be a pretty good move too. And you put all those pieces together, and that's going to be a huge part of trying to revitalize this offense.
Yeah, the running back room
in particular
was just. I mean, listen, they made it back to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago with calling Kareem Hunt off the couch. That's not supposed to work that way.
No.
That was a magical, weird team that all caught up to him at the end. They probably weren't a Super Bowl team, but they were because they won the games and did all that. It was smoke and mirrors. The room was not good enough. Pacheco is okay. He's not great. Kareem Hunt was a great player when he was younger. At that point, he wasn't anymore. And they had to do something to kind of change all that. And I honestly did not think they were going to go as bold as Kenneth Walker. So this is as bold a move as they've made in a long time at free agency. And, I think like a lot of the other guys that were there too, people like the rookie Johnson out of Nebraska, and they've got some other guys there too. I'm curious, what do you think? What do you think Brashard Smith is? A running back or a wide receiver?
I don't know. I really, really don't. I mean, I feel like, hey, at the high end of what he could be, he's Dante Hall. I don't think he's going to be Dante Hall, but I think that's the best version of who he could be. I think there's a more reasonable chance that his best NFL comp is going to be like Dexter McCluster. And I don't know what Dexter McCluster was either. I don't think anybody else really ever did. His best role is probably going to be wide receiver. But he's not going to be a number one guy. He's not going to be a 1,000-yard guy or anything like that. But could he be a gadget guy that you can get in the right spots and get some big plays every once in a while, and maybe gives you 400 or 500 yards from scrimmage a year, running some out of the backfield, maybe some reverses, just catching the ball a little bit? Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. But, you know, he looks like, again, a tweener. He's not quite either one. I don't know if you can – I mean, is he going to be a Deebo Samuel? No, I don't think that's probably what's in him and everything. You're hoping that he can become a really good returner. But I don't know. I mean, I was a big Brashard Smith fan. I still think that he can do some things because we saw it last year in training camp. I mean, he was just torching people left and right. You got the ball to him in space, and he was just untouchable. And – He I don't know. He had a play last week, and it was with Justin Fields too. So you're talking about two guys that are not quite on the same page. But you know, you just get completely missed timing. Neither player was anywhere close to being in the spot where the other one thought they were going to be. I mean, it's going to happen with a guy who, you know, spent 1 year at running back in college. Mm-hmm. It was predominantly a wide receiver. He's a work in progress, and kind of a work in progress at both spots.
Yeah, I think that the best hope is that he's just a football player in some way, and maybe you go to meetings in both rooms. I don't know.
Yeah,
figure it out. But the running game will be Kenneth Walker. I mean, that will be the thing. They don't tackle anyone here. It's easy practice for the most part. But I like what I've seen from him so far. I like what I hear the other players and coaches talking about him. I think he's going to be a big difference maker for this team. What have you thought about Kenneth Walker early on?
Yeah, you even on the practice field, I think you can still see his patience. You can just see the way he lets things set up in front of him. They've run some screens in the last couple of practices too, which we haven't seen a ton of screens the last few years. And
No.
You know, and I wasn't quite sure if that was just because they didn't have the backs to run it, or you know, they just hadn't been coaching it with the offensive line real well. I don't know, but I tell you what, they've run some screens, and when you see Creed and Trey going down blocking on screens, they love that. I mean, this is an athletic offensive line that can do a lot of stuff, and I think you are going to see them get back to more of their old bread and butter. I mean, they used to run a lot of outside zone, and they were really effective at blocking that up, and I think that this group can do that too. Because again, it's athletic. You can move them around. They can get outside, get them downfield. There's a lot that they can do, and he's got such incredible patience to let the things set up in front of him.
The anti-Pacheco.
Anti-Pacheco.
Yeah.
I mean, and once he gets a hole, he hits it with authority, and that's another thing that was missing with this team.
He's an interesting looking back when you watch him. You know, he kind of doesn't even put his hands on his knees when he's in the formation back there. He's just standing there, and he is patient. But you know, whatever style works, and his works because he was proven at a big time school in the Big Ten, and he's been very good with Seattle. He was you know, listen, timing's everything too. He was healthy, and the other guy got hurt up in Seattle, and he got to be the bell cow, and they won the whole thing. Time to you know, get paid on that deal, and I think he loved his time in Seattle. They won a lot, and they won the whole thing. But this Chiefs offense, as bad as it was last year, people still want to play with Patrick Mahomes and for Andy Reid. That it still resonates. If you have a couple 3 bad years in a row, it probably won't anymore. But this still resonates with people. You want to come play with this team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's across the board. And, you know, and that, I mean, it leads us into a little bit, too, of just, you know, why hasn't that translated in a couple of spots? Or is it simply that the Chiefs have a certain mindset this year that is different than the past? Because they have been willing in past years to go out and bring in any type of veteran. Doesn't really matter to position sometimes, and sometimes because they've had positions of need. I mean, they've gone out and they've brought in some old offensive linemen when they had holes. They've brought in
old
DNs and edge rushers when they've had some holes. And this year, they have shown
running backs.
Old running backs. They have shown zero. Well, old wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, they've shown zero interest.
Well, the Giants signed all the old wide receivers in one day.
They did. But again, you know what? I mean, if the Chiefs wanted Juju in Kansas City, he would have been in Kansas City before he went to New York. I mean, I'm starting to increasingly feel like this team,
They're just rinsing it out.
they're 53s on the roster right now. I
Yeah.
just don't get the sense that any of these older veterans that are sitting out there that you're hoping that might end up in KC, the Stephon Diggs or the Cameron Jordans or anything like that, I just don't get the sense that the Chiefs have any interest in going down that direction.
Yeah, because they haven't done it yet. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, you never can tell because there'll be some weird cut someone makes in August or something like that. But
true.
yeah, the other thing that I want to talk about before we take a break on the offensive side, you know, I thought it was interesting. You know, they say what they say about Rashee Rice, and I personally think that Eric Bieniemy wanted to answer more about it. But
Definitely.
But he knows he's not supposed
I'm
to.
going to leave what Coach said.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it with with what Coach said. I mean, I personally feel that Eric Bieniemy can be a monstrous thing for Rashee Rice's life, you know, because he needs someone to straighten him out right now, and because it has not worked. I mean, he's made the mistakes he's made, and he's serving the jail time immediately for the next, what's he got, 6 more days? No, 9 more days, 10 more days, something like that.
Yeah,
16.
that's right.
But that doesn't mean he's just fixed forever, because the probation still has 4 years left on it. And if he violates his probation again, then it won't be 30 days in jail. The probation will get revoked, and it could be real jail time, and his football career could just be over at that point. He needs someone or something to straighten him out, because he's going to waste a chance to make $100 million or something like that.
Yep.
So, once again, you may not want to be coached this way. You may not want to be mentored this way, but it may be the best thing for you. We don't know these players, okay? We talk to them in the locker rooms. We do interviews with them. We chit-chat with them sometimes. We don't know any of them, really. From what you have seen of Rashee Rice over these years, do you think he's ready to be enemied?
That's a great question. I mean, it really is, because I've talked about the fact that you talk to people in the organization that know him better than we can possibly know him from just, you know, a couple of minutes in scrums, or, I mean, I've had a couple of minutes of conversation alone with him in the locker room, but you don't know somebody from that. But you talk to the people who see him every day and work with him, and they'll consistently tell you, I mean, he's a good guy, you know, that he's likable. He doesn't cause problems in the building. He may not always be great with us, and everybody's got their own complaints about the fact that, hey, he just walks past us after some games and hasn't been accountable in some games that he's had some mistakes in. But, you know, they feel like in the building that there's a reason why they were wearing all those free 4 shirts, because the players, the coaches, executives, people probably in HR, for all I know, I mean, they like Rashee Rice. They want the best for him, but at the same time, everybody also knows he's a knucklehead. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I mean, I have to assume that at some point they have had the come to Jesus meeting with him more than a couple of times. And, I mean, this is the final one. I mean, and
he's had several crossroads that he's come to, and he's made the wrong turn many times. This has got to be the last time you made the wrong turn. You're going to get out of jail here on the 16th. You got to find a way to get to St. Joseph on July 20, whatever it is, and keep your nose down and grind.
And I probably shouldn't make this comparison, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to preface it by saying that I am not equating what Rashee has done and what's happened in his life apples to apples to what happened to Eric Bieniemy when he was younger and what happened in his life. But they, at the same time, went through some similar tribulations. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are still people who tell you the reason why EB is not getting a head coaching job
made some knucklehead
is because he made some knucklehead
decision
decision when he was Rashee Rice's age.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if there's anybody that can relate to Rashee Rice and lay down the law with him and explain to him what's going to happen to him if he doesn't clean things up, it's EB. I mean, he can offer him a different view of life and everything, and what could possibly be. And if Rasheed doesn't respond to that, he's not going to respond to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can respond to EB, if he plays full 17 games this year, I mean, he's going to be a 1,200-yard receiver, maybe a lot more. I mean, he's going to have a great year. He's a good player.
Well, he's already cost himself. I mean, he's cost himself lots of money by having lawyers' fees, a civil court thing against him, being kicked out of the league for 6 weeks because you don't get your checks that week. I mean, that's real money he's cost himself. He's cost himself future money by, no matter what he does this year, there's going to be a knucklehead tax on his next contract because, you know, he hasn't proven that he can be healthy or stay out of trouble enough to get one of these deals because they're paying these wide receivers like crazy. You don't have to be Tyreek Hill to get $100 million guaranteed dollars. I mean,
No.
didn't Drake London just get $100 million guaranteed?
Christian Watson for the Packers
Christian Watson
got 110 over 4.
Yeah. And
Insane. That dude's never been a 1,000-yard receiver.
no,
He's
I mean,
27.5.
the list is incredible. But if you keep doing this stuff, then you won't. You just won't.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, you know, the other knucklehead decision that he and his agent made was not going ahead and signing a team-friendly deal with the Chiefs, because I'm pretty sure it was on the table that any point in the last, well, before last month, I mean, I think there was an offer on the table. I certainly get the sense that was an option, that he could have signed an extension with the Chiefs. Maybe before January. I mean, you know.
Well, they were probably
thing
like, well,
with
you're trying to cheat me. But
the
listen,
acts
the
and
Chiefs are no
everything.
dummies. You sign
No,
them.
I mean,
they signed
you-
Tyreek Hill very smartly when he was going through all of his issues in 2019 to a team-friendly deal. Now, it turned out he wanted more later, and they ended up trading, whatever that's what it is. But they got him for 3 more years because they were smart when they signed him.
Yep. And I don't know. I mean, you know, you have to remember there were teams that did not have Rashee Rice on their board.
On their board at all.
Because they knew all the stories that were out there. They knew everything the Chiefs knew and everything. And there's a lot more probably that we don't even know, because we've learned a few more things about Rashee Rice's college career that we didn't know at the time of the draft. And I mean, there are going to be those same teams that are like, we didn't want him then, we don't want him now. And there's probably going to be a few more teams even now. The market of teams that are going to be options for him is going to be narrow. And I mean, unless you're just completely and totally insane, and there's a couple of NFL teams that are insane.
They're out there.
They might be out there.
Only takes one.
Maybe the Raiders are going to offer him, you know, 110 over 4 years guaranteed. But, you know, I mean, anybody, for the most part, is going to offer him any deal. I mean, 1, it's going to be below market. 2, it is going to be loaded with incentives. It's not going to be a ton of guarantees. And, you know, you mentioned about, hey, the money now. I mean, he may have cost himself money right now by just not taking, you know, a raise with the Chiefs and getting some signing bonus in his pocket now and everything. I mean, I think the Chiefs were they were definitely willing to take that risk before January.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they were after January, I think is a little bit more debatable. And now, I mean, I wouldn't blame them if they didn't want to take the chance at all. It was like, okay, Rasheed, you want to bet on yourself? Well, we're going to bet on you too, because we're gonna wait and see what happens. But
the longer you wait, the more you get disappointed with him. That's what we've seen so far. Matt Derrick is here. We're talking some Chiefs. We got more to come here on The Zone. Welcome back into the zone. Todd Leabo in for Jason Anderson on vacation. I haven't heard from Jason. He's in Florida, I think, having fun. Have you guys heard from him?
Nope, not once.
Not even once. Sterling is on a golf trip. We saw a tweet from him as all of his bros dressed in their little matching shirts going to
That
go
is
play
so
golf.
Sterling.
Yeah. Did you see that picture that he sent out? There was a bunch of guys in a van to go play golf in Nebraska.
I have not seen it.
Let me show you the picture, then I'll ask you,
It's electric.
how much money would it take for you to be in this van
With Sterling and the bros.
with Sterling and the bros to go on, I think it's a 4-day golf trip. They left yesterday, and I assume they're playing golf yesterday, today, probably Saturday. How much to go on this golf trip and hang out with this crew of dudes?
Man, I mean, at this point in my life, I would probably have to be paid to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm asking how,
how much
I
would-
know you wouldn't pay to do it. I'm asking you
I'll
how
go
much.
pay. I mean, golf's involved in everything, so I might be fairly cheap. I mean, 1,000, I'd probably do it.
I've put this out to a couple people. I've heard numbers like 10,000.
I'd
That's a
probably-
lot of sterling.
Here's the other. Well, it's a lot of sterling, but here's the thing. I mean, think about this. And I've never really heard of any bros going to Nebraska for a golf trip before.
Well, they have beautiful golf courses up there. They really do. I got friends who go up there and play golf all the time.
Did
There's
not
some,
know that,
There are
so.
some hidden gems up there. Some really nice things out
Did
there
not-
in
I
in
did
the-
not know that.
the
That is
sand hills out there.
Weird, wild stuff.
Yeah,
But I mean, Sterling leads a charmed life.
he does.
I mean, we're talking about a week here that he started it at what, like 5 a.m. Sunday morning, karaokeing with Paul Rudd and
yeah.
downtown Kansas City,
And then
now he's
with the bros,
golfing with the bros
with
in
the
Nebraska
Hamburglar and Jansen and
you know,
Squeaks and
is-
whatever their names are.
probably going to end up, closing down bars with John Hamm or something
Somehow.
in Omaha. I don't know.
And then he'll tell us that he won the Ryder Cup up there, and then he really didn't.
He will have some sort of bizarre story about a celebrity that he ran into
in Nebraska.
and partied with, ended up like shooting snooker with
Snooker.
Ryan Gosling or
He's playing
something.
snooker. And Jason's down at the amusement parks, I think. I don't know. I think they went to Universal.
That's
You
right.
ever
Went
been
to
to any of
both.
those?
Yeah. Oh, they went-
Disney and Universal. They went both.
Have you gone to Disney World ever?
I have been to Disney World, yes.
Yeah. When?
A long time ago. It was,
Before Star Wars took it over or after?
way before. This was spring break 1989, I think it was,
Yeah.
with the family.
Yeah.
I have been to Disneyland more recently.
I've not been to Disneyland. That's California. right?
Odd thing. Yes. Actually, you know what? I'm fairly certain because of my phone, sends me these reminders about, hey, what you did on this date and
Yeah.
everything. I think that because it was 2019, I think it was yesterday or today is the anniversary of me going to Disneyland.
Ah.
And it was the first month of Galaxy's Edge
Oh.
being open. So
Oh, wow.
that's what I went
That's what
for.
you went
was
for.
for the Galaxy's Edge and everything.
Nice. See?
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times. Great
Yeah.
oldies.
I think I think Jason, this trip's probably $3. That's all it is to go to like Universal, SeaWorld, and Disney.
It's nothing.
And it's
Oh.
nothing. I haven't. We went to Disney World once with my kids. They were, I forget the years. They're probably 7 and 9 or 6 and 8. And we went to Universal the next year. So we went to Florida twice, and they were both like 4 or 5 day trips, whatever. And we didn't need to go back. It was fun, but I'm good. I don't need any more of that in my life. But I understand it's a lot more expensive 20 years later than it was back then.
A lot more expensive. Here's a great story, but it will not be necessarily appropriate for the bonus hour.
Don't worry. We only got a half hour tonight. We'll be fine.
There you go. Back in my youth, I worked at the Disney store. I worked at both the Metro North and the Oak Park Mall locations.
Okay. I've been to both of those at some point in my life, I
There you
think.
go. And twice a year, once at Christmas and once June or whatever. So, I mean, it makes sense. They would give us, give the employees 2 one-day passes to the parks.
Oh, really?
And when I was working there, so it was about 1995 when they changed this policy. But before 1995, they were unlimited, no expiration dates.
Oh,
on
really?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they never expired. And that was like the whole big thing was like, hey, these never expire. So, whenever you want to go, you can go and everything. And then when they changed the policy, I would trade or people would like want to be able to get the unexpired passes and everything like that, or that they were going to go, but they didn't need an unexpired pass. So I would trade my ones with expiration dates
for the unexpired,
for people who were going to use them,
because you might as well use that one. Yeah.
Exactly. So I ended up with like 16 unexpired passes. I still have some. I mean, I've given a couple away for gifts over the years when people.
They still work, you think?
I called. This was 2019, and so I had passes that were literally, 26, 27, 28 years old. And I called up Disney and was like, "Hey, these still work and everything?" And they like transferred me around like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And finally got to somebody who was like, "Oh yeah, they work. If you have any problems, let us know and everything." And so I just went to the gate and everything. Had my little unexpired pass here, and I said, "Hey," told me that it still works and everything, no problem. And the first person who saw it was like, he's like, kind of looking at me quizzical and everything, and he's like, "I don't see an expiration date." I'm like, "Doesn't have one."
Doesn't have one, bro.
So he went like to his boss and everything,
old school.
and his boss comes over, and apparently his boss got really excited.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen one of
Because
these."
he's like, "I've never seen." He's like, "I've heard they've existed, but I've never seen one. This is so cool."
You say, "I got more, buddy."
Exactly.
Because when you got that thing in like 1992 or something, it's probably like 8 times the value now, or with the price of the park.
I think when I went that day, I think it was like 175 or something for
probably
one
$20
day entry.
to go back in the day. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You got any vacations coming up? The Chiefs are all going to go on vacation after this.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy's on vacation this week, so this is, I guess, was my vacation.
This was it.
I guess this was it.
Yeah, you went to an OTA and you came in here.
To an OTA, exactly.
Hell of a vacation. You're supposed to go when all these guys go. They're going to spread for the hinterlands. They want to get out of the sports complex.
I mean, we still don't know when the wedding is, do we?
No. I was honestly gonna. I don't want to be the guy asking questions, but I was gonna be like, ask EB, you get invited to this wedding? When's it? But everyone thought it was going to be the 13th or something. That was her big date, right?
Yeah.
That's next Saturday.
Would he shave the beard for the wedding?
Oh, he shaves a beard all the time. Oh, Eric?
Yeah.
Why would they ask him to shave the beard for the wedding?
Well, no. Usually, like, if you go into a wedding, you get a haircut.
He could grow that gray beard back in 3 weeks.
Nancy wants to know why we did not ask EB about looking like Santa.
Who's the defensive back assistant who's got a gray beard too? There's another guy out there. I don't think he's a new guy, because there's like 2 guys with the gray beards. I got to look that up. I was thinking about that when we were out there. I'm like, who's this coach? Because there's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coaches. There's a lot of coaches out there.
There are a lot of coaches these days.
But EB's beard is his picture on the website. Not the gray beard. It's an older picture. I don't know who's his. He's a defensive backs coach. Could be any one of these guys.
Was it the second safeties coach they brought in this offseason, or the safeties coach in addition to the Dave Merritt defensive backs coach?
None of these pictures on the website look like these guys look now. Andy's picture is not new, by the way.
No, it is not.
It is not new.
I think that was shot like
there's a guy,
January 1st, 2013.
Control guy who's a Bill Walsh fellow, C.J. Cox. I don't know. There's a defense. He's not a defensive line coach. It might be. I don't know. I don't know C.J. Cox, but it could be him with a beard. But he looks too young to have a gray beard.
Yeah, he really does. And
someone's out there got a gray beard in the defensive backs as well. But Eric's picture is old. That's an old Chiefs picture as well. He's very young on the Chiefs website. Very young looking. It's time to get. They were doing headshots for players.
Yeah,
the room was getting used for that. It's like, roll these coaches in here. They got to put
those up too.
They got to put a suit on though. Of course, you could Photoshop the suit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that picture's not new of Coach Reed.
No, it is not.
Not my picture's not new on mine. It's not as bad. My favorite picture, either Sam or Jesse. Their pictures on their little IDs.
Jesse Newell's photo looks like it was taken back when he was a student at KU or something.
Yeah, sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
Out there covering some old
working
KU
for the
stuff.
Daily Kansas.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it is a funny looking picture on there. Mine's old, but I don't change. I don't look any different. Actually, mine's not that old. A couple years. I have one picture that I save of a headshot that's very old, but I don't really look any different. But they made us wear suits in here one day, and they took pictures. Actually, Steve Sanders, the Chiefs official photographer, came in here and took them for us. We were partners with the Chiefs, and he came in and took headshots of us all.
Wow,
and,
Steve's the best.
Yeah, and so I have a picture. I've weighed more in that picture. I've lost some weight. I look better in that one. But
He's gotten better with age, man.
Oh, I've gotten way better with age. Way better with age. But yeah, EB's beard is great. But I don't know when this wedding is. Everyone thought it was a certain date, but Travis was not there. I haven't seen him at either one of these OTAs. Doesn't mean he hasn't been there. He hasn't been there the days we've been there. I assume we will talk to him next week if he's at mandatory minicamp.
I mean, if the wedding is actually the 13th, there's no way we're seeing Travis next week.
Well, he's going to get fined $75,000 not to come. Listen, when you're a guy, you just got to be there when the thing starts. The wedding's on Saturday.
The total $108,000 in fines for Travis will not be much of a dent in the pocketbook.
I think he'll be at mandatory minicamp because he does come to these things, and he likes
to set a good example.
He likes football practice too.
He does.
He really does like football practice. It's weird. It's one of the things that makes him great. He likes football practice. Because if you didn't like football practice, you wouldn't keep coming back and doing this.
This is true.
He likes it. But maybe the wedding is then. I don't know. Get on the internet. Tell the interns to get on the internet and figure out when Travis and Taylor are getting married.
On it.
Figure it out.
That's a good project.
We'll have that answer for you when we come back on The Zone. Welcome back into the zone. Quick segment here. We talked too long about Disney with Matt Derrick, but he's going to stick around for another segment. We'll get into some more Chief stuff, maybe something else. I don't know. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Plenty of time.
You can talk about the Super Regional, Kansas.
Boomer Sooner.
That's right. Matt Derrick's rooting for the right team. Darcy.
Wrong.
Where's our intern from? Where's he go to school?
KU.
You
Boomer
guys can
Sooner.
stay in there. Just stay in there.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Todd. I hate the Sooners.
I know.
but I like the Sooners compared to.
I hate the Jayhawks. Yeah, Stan Weber this morning is all in on the Sooners. See? That's how it works. K-Staters, Missouri people. Kevin Timmons just walked by, Texas grad. They did win the College World Series last night, and I told Steven this morning I was rooting for them over Texas Tech. How about that?
Wow.
I don't like this Texas Tech group anymore. Spending all that money.
This SportsCenter update is brought to you by Connolly Plumbing. Outside faucets can be annoying. This month's special with Connolly Plumbing Solutions is an outside faucet replacement for only $399 with a standard faucet or $599 for self-draining. Visit ConnollyPlumbingSolutions.com to schedule. The Royals took Game 1 over the Twins last night at Target Field in Minnesota, winning 8-6 after Josh Rojas, who is making his season debut for the Royals, had a 2-run single in the 9th inning. The Royals are back at it tonight in Game 2. The Knicks and Spurs will face off in Game 2 of the 2026 NBA Finals, and you can listen to that tonight on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Michael Darcy. This is SportsCenter.
We're rolling on here on a Friday on the Zone. You heard Stephen St. John. He has another hour to go out at High V. Go register to win some tickets to a soccer match in a big tournament. He's out there at Black Bob. He'll be there to 1. This is the last day to do it. He's been going out on Fridays doing this stuff. I also do want to mention on another soccer note, Central Bank and Sporting Kansas City are bringing their Soccer Capital of America pop-up shops to communities all across the metro. You can stop by and select Central Bank locations for discounts on official tournament merchandise, soccer games, giveaways, all that stuff. And they've got a limited edition Soccer Capital of America debit card. Friday, that's today, their pop-up, listen up, Matt Derrick, is at the Shoal Creek branch in Liberty.
Oh.
Central Bank, they're going to be there until 5. So when you go back home, swing by the Central Bank Shoal Creek branch in Liberty for the Sporting KC Central Bank pop-up. Very cool. So keep an eye on that. But today they'll be in Liberty from right now until 5 o'clock. So there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm going a little bit later today. I'll be out at Westlake and they call it the Shawnee store. And it's just north of the Monticello Library. Monticello. I think you can get away with either one of those. They got the grand opening weekend this weekend and got a bunch of huge deals. I'll be out there from 4 to 6, so be a lot of fun. And they've got all kinds of cool stuff happening on Saturday. So if you can't get there today, go by tomorrow. They got 30 locations around the greater metro area. And I say it all the time, I love Westlake Ace because you go into Westlake Ace, they know where to directly send you to get whatever you need. I went in
100%.
On Saturday. I needed some little LED light bulbs. I was changing some light bulbs in these little accent lights we have. And I said, where do I go? The guy said, aisle 7. And I said, well, I'll send you these little things. He said, that's aisle 49. Bing, bang, boom, just like that.
Yep.
Nice people. So I'll be out at Westlake Ace from 4 to 6 today. Matt Derrick, you're not going to be anywhere today. You're going to go home after that. But you will be at OTAs or the mandatory minicamp. Next week, we will have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When we get back into the Chiefs talk, one more offensive thing that we just haven't talked about. And I got to ask Andy maybe next week. Josh Simmons. Where are we on Josh Simmons?
Where are we on
Josh Simmons?
He's out there.
He's out there.
He's doing his thing.
Step 1.
Looks like everything's just normal and business as usual.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had. I guess we haven't officially gotten an update on the wrist or anything.
You don't have to talk about injuries here. You know this is voluntary.
This is voluntary, and we don't really talk about. Andy was actually in a pretty good mood last week because we got about 4 or 5 questions into injuries.
Kind of answered him
before he finally was like, "Yeah, well, we don't really talk about injuries here." But
a thing. I don't know what it was on. It was a thing. Don't worry about it.
I think he was just so relieved not having to be talking more about Rashee Rice that he was like, "I'll talk about injuries before I talk about that dude."
Yeah, exactly. But so I mean, we assume he's totally healthy.
Looks totally healthy. I mean, looks like business as usual.
Do you think we are past whatever rocky things happened in his life where he went AWOL and was just gone? You think we're past that? I know you can't be 100% on anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be 100% sure, and especially in our case, since we don't technically really 100% know.
Yes.
Can't say that I know with 100% clarity what happened. And I've tried to find out from people, but I mean, I think you'd have to. I mean, the Chiefs obviously are acting like they feel pretty comfortable, and and
they didn't go draft a left tackle.
Used it as a total smokescreen, and I saw no reason why they were going to draft a left tackle. I mean, I never fell for that. I never fell for that banana in the tailpipe, Todd.
No,
so
you can't fall for it.
Can't fall for it. But No, I mean, it seems like that everybody is just, they're kind of ignoring, at least put it into the past and moving forward. Nobody's dwelling on what happened last year with it. We don't know. I mean, if it's a situation that could recreate itself, or that they just feel like that they've managed to get to a point where there's a détente of some sorts, I don't know. But it was still, I don't know. That was still a complicated situation that I think went beyond just one thing. I think there were a lot of factors at play, and we may never know the full story. But honestly, no. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he plays all 17 games and everything's hunky-dory this year. Also wouldn't surprise me if something happened at some point. I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah, nothing surprises anymore. Nothing surprises, that's for sure. Let's talk a little defense. A lot of guys got drafted on defense.
A lot of guys.
There was a funny moment on Wednesday when I think the first question, Spags, we haven't talked to you since the draft. And he was like, we haven't? No, we haven't. Anyway, inside media stuff there for you. But they had to be excited about getting all these new guys because they lost a lot of guys. And, you heard him talking about, really had fondness for all those guys from 22 that were gone. And now that's football. You got to go get new guys.
Yeah. A lot of turnover. I mean, this is the most turnover they've had on the defensive side in a while. And it's going to manifest itself somehow on the field. And it's going to manifest itself in the numbers. Is this defense going to be as good as last year? I don't know if it can be. I mean, it's almost bound to take a little bit of a step back. But at the same time, I think they've gone the right directions to improve things. And, I mean, let's face it. The secondary can't be as good as it was last year with as much as that they lost. But at the same time, they've also made moves that make sense on paper. And if they work out in real life, I mean, they finally have a actual free safety. Brian Cook did his best to be a free safety, but I'll be really interested to see how the Bengals use him and everything, if he's going to be more of a strong safety for them. I think that's his better role. But, they finally have a free safety in Gilman that they can use back there. I mean, Mansour Delane is going to be good. He's not going to be Trent McDuffie good, but he's going to be good out of the box.
He might be. Who knows?
Who knows? But, I mean, I bet against it because, I mean, Trent McDuffie was good
right out of the chute.
If he's as good as McDuffie was out of the chute, you're going to be fine eventually. But I think you're going to see some, again, we've seen, Merritt and Spags kind of have to experiment for a while before they find the right rotation that works in that secondary. And that could happen again this year because I don't know that they've really figured out who their best corners are across the board, left, right, inside, period. I'm not sure how they're going to use Jamari Conner. I mean, right now it looks like he's probably not going to be as in the slot as much, which I think the vast majority of Chiefs fans are pretty excited to hear. Spags loves him some Jamari Conner, but it looks like they just might be using him in a different role this year. That's great. They don't have a clean replacement for Leo Chanel. And even though Leo only played 50% of the snaps, I mean, those were big 50% of the snaps. Yeah. I mean, he was an important player.
Well, on the other side, on special teams, too, Dave Tobe talking about him is like, you don't replace him.
No.
You don't replace him. They think they might have a couple guys. He mentioned Ethan Downs and someone else to kind of maybe do some of the special teams things, but that's half of what Leo did.
Right.
Not the other half, which was playing those plays.
Yep.
So they just couldn't, they're in the spot they're in with money. So, you couldn't do that. But you got to just rip the Band-Aid off sometimes. They let that salary cap fester for a while.
Yeah.
And they got to get rid of it.
And, and I was asked the other night on the Chiefs Digest live stream about, maybe assistant coaches who might be on the hot seat that, it's really, they need to prove themselves this year. And, I mean, I feel like Andy Heck's kind of been in that spot now for a few seasons. And this year probably, of all the offensive side of the ball, I mean, that's going to be the thing that if the offensive line lets you down, I mean, you're going to be taking a hard, serious look at Andy Heck. But on the defensive side, and I don't think it's necessarily because his group has underperformed, but more about the fact that you've given Joe Cullen, Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati, Peter Woods, now, R. Mason Thomas. You've given him 4 picks in the top 3 rounds in the last 2 years. Man, that's pressure because you've been given all the talent in the world to go out there and get some things done. And you got Chris Jones and you got George Karlaftis. I mean, if you don't improve the pass rush this year and you don't get yourself to a situation where you can get pressure with 4 consistently, I mean, there's going to be some questions.
Yeah, for sure. Let's play a little Joe Cullen soundbite here. This was a revelation to many of us. Last week we talked to George Karlaftis, and we saw that he looked hurt. He was, going through a lot. It's the National Football League. People get hurt and all that stuff. And so, but Cullen went a little further than most.
Well, one of the things, and George doesn't say anything, but he broke his hand. I mean, he had a broken hand and didn't miss a game. And he had to have surgery during the bye week. And that was his power hand. So we where he likes to use his right hand and power there. So he's just healthy and he's excited, and it's going into his 5th year. And he knows the defense like the back of his hand. He knows Spags' defense and our defense well. And, I'm excited for him to have a great year.
Did he give any thought to sitting out?
No, not at all. I had another guy in my career had the same injury, Gerald McCoy, and his happened right before the bye, and he came in with a big cast on. The second play that he had a sack with it, and then he just mentally, but no, he was the same way. George was the same way.
This is a big year for George because we talk about that 2022 class. They're all gone, except him. He got the deal, and he wasn't as good as he could have been last year, but he was hurt and apparently had a broken hand, which I looked back through. I didn't see him on the injury report for having a broken hand. Is there going to be a repercussion here?
It really makes you wonder, because I did the same thing, and I was like, I just don't remember him being on the injury report or anything.
And they had some long injury reports.
Long injury
reports.
late in the
year.
And that's the dumb thing about the NFL injury report, because if you listen to what Joe Cullen said, and it was like, hey, was there any consideration about sitting him out or anything like this? No.
Nah.
So if he was a full participant and there was no chance of him not playing, then I guess technically you don't have to list him. I mean, it's a very gray area, but the NFL lives in the gray areas, so I don't know if there's going to be any repercussions of that. But it is an interesting segment of it. And you look at the numbers, and you look at his game logs last year, and you're going to say, okay, yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
He had, 6 sacks in the first 9 games and 1 sack after that the rest of the way. Chris Jones was the exact opposite last year. Chris, I think, had 2 sacks in the first 9 games and 5 in the second half of the season. Those guys, if I remember correctly, I'm not sure that they had a sack in the same game all season. There may have been one game where they both did, but they were consistently just not on at the same time. And obviously now that it makes sense that Chris had his best production in the second half of the season, and Karlaftis was injured that second half. But you look at what he did those first 9 games, and all of his best games were in that first few weeks. He had one game where he had 10 tackles early in the season, had a couple of other good games. He had nothing like that in the second half. So you can definitely, if you just looked at his game logs and you didn't know when he got hurt, you could absolutely draw the line where it's like, okay, well, that's where it happened. He just dropped off a cliff, and the fact that he played through it is great. They needed him, because look at all the other injuries that they had last year, especially along the defensive line. At that point, I know they were already out Norman Lott. I think Gelati was even dinged up a little bit, and Chris is always dinged up and playing through things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it makes total sense, and you're right. It's a big year for him. He's still going to be in a spot where he can be a free agent and get a 3rd contract at a fairly young age. Because George is still a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
And last year I know it was disappointing because, you look at it and you're like, hey, not everybody, thrives and blossoms in year 2. And there's some guys who are year 3. And honestly, you look at some of the best edge rushers, sometimes they don't start getting their groove until year 4. And that's what you felt last year. Maybe that's where Karlaftis is going to finally hit it. And it looked like for the first half of the season he might get there. But, if this is the year that you're feeling like, hey, if Karlaftis doesn't finally explode this year and turn into a double-digit sack guy, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
You mentioned Norman Lott. He got hurt last year, and he was hurt. And he didn't really get to participate as much during camp as they wanted to. We had a couple flashes here and there with a few plays. And they don't have to tell us about injury stuff, really, right now. But what are you hearing about his health? He was hurt long before Patrick was.
Yeah. Lott?
Yeah.
Yeah. The last I heard was that they were hoping that maybe he could do a few things during the mandatory minicamp, but he hasn't been on the field yet. So that's increasingly, and I don't even believe he was on the field Wednesday, even as an observer. I mean, I might have missed him, so I can't, don't hold me to that. But it's looking less and less likely. But then the idea was, okay, well, regardless, they're hoping that he's not necessarily going to start on the PUP list starting, training camp. But yeah, he was injured in I think the first part of October.
Yeah,
I think he played 4 games, and and he had the issue with the ankle that got sprained in training camp, and there was the issue where he came in over the weight that the Chiefs were expecting him. And apparently it's because there was a miscommunication and he put on weight in between mandatory minicamp and training camp because apparently he thought he was supposed to. That was a really weird situation.
Yeah, maybe you need a better email chain on that. Go back and check, see what happened.
But hey, if he's down in weight, and I mean, once again, I mean, you always say it with ACLs. I mean, I don't expect him to be 100% at any point this year. But if he can be on the field and help them in some way, I mean, that's the thing. You look at the additions that they've made, because with Kyrie's Tonga, with Peter Woods adding to the mix, they don't need, and I mean, they shouldn't ever expect Omar Norman-Lott to be a guy that's going to give them like Tershawn Wharton kind of numbers. I mean, Tershawn was giving him like 700 snaps a year. I mean, Omar Norman-Lott never played more than like 240 in college.
Right.
So he's going to be a rotational piece. That's what he can be this year. I mean, that's all they're going to ask from him, I think.
Yeah, he was a second-round pick, though. I mean, that was when you look back at last year now, you're like, oh, well, their second-round pick got hurt. Their best wide receiver was suspended for 6 games. Their quarterback got hurt. One of their best defensive ends had a broken hand the entire, I mean, it's a wonder they won some of the games that they won. They really dealt with a lot of stuff last year. So they need to, like always, be healthy and have some good fortune here and there. And they need some more depth on that line. But they went out, and I think Peter Woods can be a player for them. But it's the same probably with every year in the draft. If Mansour Delane is his best, that's great. If Peter Woods is what people thought he would be last year, that's great. If R. Mason Thomas is the best of what he could be, then, which is kind of what happened in 22. Everyone was better. They all were better than people thought. You have to have those drafts happen that way. Is it too many ifs, though, with these players?
It's a lot of ifs. I've had the same thought and everything, and that you've got a bunch of guys that, yeah, you're hoping that they are what they are on paper, but you don't know. I mean, even like guys like Kyrie's Tonga coming in, and you're hoping that he's the same guy that he was last year with the Patriots. There's no guarantee of that. Changing systems and coaches and all of these things. I mean, maybe Mike Vrabel got the best out of him last year. It's a lot of, I mean, and even on the offensive side, it's the same thing. I mean, you're crossing your fingers that, hey, Kenneth Walker is going to make this offense a lot better. And not just the run game, but that his presence is going to make the passing game better. You're betting that your receivers are going to give you a full season. I mean, I think the Chiefs have 4 good receivers. But they've had 3 or 4 good receivers in the past and just haven't been able to get 17 games out of any of them. I mean, that's a challenge. So, well, I think it is a lot of ifs. So if the Chiefs end up, I can't imagine another scenario where they go 6-11. That's just, I mean, I think they would have to have another run of ridiculously bad luck. Mm-hmm. But if they end up like 9-8 and on the wrong side of the playoffs, it's probably because a lot of these what ifs didn't hit.
Yeah. Yeah, they needed to have a great draft in 22 because they traded away Tyreek Hill, and they did.
Yeah.
And it set them up for years. And we said it all spring, they need to have a great draft this year. We won't know until they play games because I think we kind of got an inkling in 22. Some of these guys can play. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We have to see the mandatory minicamp. We have to see camp. But you really, really don't know until you play real football games.
Yeah.
And we're not very patient.
We're not very
patient. We want to know right now if these guys can play or they can't play. Matt, Derek, thanks for hanging out an extra segment. What's the schedule for you for any live streams on YouTube or 41 is the Mic podcast? What's the schedule like? It's off season, but it's not. It's never an off season.
Off season. Well, you can definitely go and hit the latest episode of 41 is the Mic that Nick and I recorded after the OTAs on Wednesday, so you can find out everything that happened and our observations. Always a lot of fun. Nick was in rare form once again this week. We'll do the live stream, the live Q&A on Tuesday night at 7.
You talking O-line in rare form?
O-line, rare form?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. He loves the O-line play.
He does love himself some O-line play.
Frustrates him sometimes.
Frustrates him sometimes, but here's the important thing. As always, as Nick always says, doesn't matter until the pads come on.
That's right. You got to get the pads on. And then YouTube.
We have the live stream coming up Tuesday. Almost always on Tuesdays. But
always on Tuesdays.
And we'll have an OTA to talk about on Tuesday.
We got a real live OTA, a big, steamy, sweaty OTA out there on Tuesday. We'll be there. I'll have a big, wide-brimmed hat, maybe a long-sleeved fishing shirt, something like that.
I need to remember to put my sunscreen on this week.
Yeah, well, Blair keeps some of his sunscreen in the fridge, I think, in there. He was putting some on. He knows what he's doing.
Blair's a pro.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I know I will have a big hat on because I got to cover my bald head. That is for sure. Matt, Derek, thank you for hanging out. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Sounds great, my friend.
All right, that's Matt Derek here on The Zone. More to come. Still have Brian Haney coming up at 1 o'clock. Welcome back into the zone. I'm Todd Leabo, hosting for Jason Anderson and Sterling Holmes. So every day I walk by in the morning, and Steven yells at me, says, "You got to come in here." I said, "I got to host a show today." And then so now he's out working extra. I'm going to make him come on this show. Steven, where are you? What are you doing?
I'm out at Hy-Vee in Olathe, right off 151st and Black Bob. I'm going to be here till 1 o'clock, and I'm here under a tent with Jimmy and Easton.
Ah,
An enviable spot.
what a crew!
Anyone.
Jimmy and
Exactly
Easton
right.
both. What do you? Is the line of women just like lined up there to get at those two?
Yeah, actually, one woman showed up to see Jimmy. It was his mom.
Oh,
Right at
you
the
met
beginning
Jimmy's
of
mother?
Ramon, so
Oh, great! That's
we
nice.
met Jimmy's mom.
Yeah.
And had a gentleman say he was driving around listening. And he said, "This Todd Leabo is sharp as a tack."
Oh, he did
And I
not.
want to
You're
come in
making
here and
up
get
a
a
story.
preview magazine for soccer.
You are making up a story. So you have a big feature in the soccer magazine
I do.
about things to do in Kansas City. What's your favorite thing of the things you listed of the things to do in Kansas City?
Hold real quick. Hold on. I've got a couple that just ran up here and gave Jimmy a hug.
Oh boy,
This is a lady showed up and gave Jimmy a hug earlier. There's mom. Now another couple. Jimmy is hugging random adult people. I don't know what's going on here.
must be in his
So you're
neighborhood.
asking me what my favorite
Of
spot
all
was
the
there?
favorite thing you put 8 or 10 different things to tell people who come to Kansas City to
Okay.
do. And what is your favorite of those things?
So I did. Again, I made them all Kansas.
You
City,
made them
Missouri.
all
This
Kansas City,
was the
Missouri.
thing.
You turned your back on Kansas, even though you're a Black Bob right now.
This is what it is. And so, like, personally, my favorite spot was Cliff Drive because that's where I learned how to ride a bike, and I used to ride my motorcycle when I was a young boy, and I get in a lot of trouble there. And also, like, I think not enough people go to the Museum of Kansas City, the old Kansas City Museum that's also there in Northeast. So that's a hidden gem. But, man, of all those places I mentioned, I love the zoo.
Yeah. I know you love the zoo.
I've worked at the zoo.
Yes, you did.
It would have, of all those places, it would have to be, and it sounds crazy now because we're going to lose it, Human Sports Complex, because there's probably no other place in Kansas City that I've had better memories with my friends and my family and just personally. And so, that's
Even more than the
always hold
zoo?
the best spot in my heart. What's that?
Even more than the zoo?
Well, I had special moments at the
Oh,
zoo.
I know you did. Tell me this. You just glossed over that real quick. You drove a motorcycle?
Yeah. I used to have a little 50, a little motorcycle that my dad gave me against my mom's wishes. And
I'm
then
just
I
now
was
learning
told
you
not-
were a motorcycle guy. I did not know this.
No, I was a little dirt bike,
Yeah, I get it.
And I was a kid, and I was like 12, and so I'd ride it around. I was told I had to stay on trails and stuff. If I got caught riding in the street, then I'd get grounded. So of course I was riding.
Did you
in the
wear a
street.
helmet?
I did for the most part, and then after I had it for like 2 or 3 months, I loved it, and it was yellow and black, and it was awesome. I used to ride up and down Van Brunt, and then I got in a wreck with no helmet, and I lost my motorcycle.
And so you hit your head, obviously. That's what what we have now.
Just something like that. It was sold in the it left in the middle of the night. I didn't even know about it.
Gone.
We'll get it out of the garage, and it was gone.
Oh boy, Stephen
Very
St.
sad
John on a
story.
motorcycle. I would like to see a picture of that. I know we have some
might
good
have
pictures of you as the Rhinestone Cowboy, and I love the picture with Deron Cherry at Arrowhead. It's
I
a
do
good one.
remember, like, my dad showed up with the motorcycles, 101, and my mom and everyone was like, "Hey, so where did you buy that? Don't worry about it."
Don't worry about it.
So, I don't think he bought it anywhere. I think
He acquired it.
another family may have lost their motorcycle, but whatever.
You just get
water under the
things.
bridge.
You get things. Doesn't matter how you
Right.
get them. You get them.
Right.
Stephen
Got it.
St. John is at Hy-Vee. Before I let you go and get back to keeping people away from Jimmy, we had Ryan Lefevre on earlier talking about the Royals game. How wild was that Josh Rojas day? I mean, I know you're having a wild day because you had hosted a show. You're going to remote. You probably got a big Friday night planned. But
Yeah.
this dude played in 2 baseball games in one day and hit a game-winning hit.
I'm going to the Sheffield Place Golf Tournament right after that to do their awards, and then I'll be in St. Joe tonight. How about that?
I mean,
anyway,
that's a Josh Rojas kind of day.
But for real, you think about that. Not only so he played in the noon game, got a hit, they pulled him out of the game, sent him to the airport, misses his flight by 7 minutes, has to wait around, get the 8 o'clock flight, and so then he doesn't get to the ballpark till like 9:30, 9:45. And then he's in there, gets dressed, and by the time he gets settled in the dugout, hey, you're pinch hitting, bases loaded.
Grab a bat.
Game. Save the game, Josh Rojas.
Unbelievable day.
And he came through.
Wild.
You can't send him down now.
No, I mean, and Ryan was like, Ryan was like, I don't think that's ever happened that he knew of. I guess Kurt Nelson sent him some story about something from 1997 that may have happened, but it's like crazy, crazy day. And to get the hit. It's one thing to play in 2 games. It's another thing to get the game-winning hit in another one. So it's a wild day. So what are you doing to St. Joe tonight?
So Dolo White's going to be playing up there. They're having a big, festival and to kick off the St. Joseph Goats indoor football season tomorrow night, and so they're having a big outdoor event tonight. And so then Dolo White's going to play.
They're going to coax you up on the stage?
Well, they asked me to introduce them. I'm not singing. I'm not rapping. I'm not doing that tonight.
No, so, by the way,
tonight.
he will. Even though he says he won't. Someone will say, come on.
No, I'm going to introduce them.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I'll be at the Flash Dash 5K down in Northtown, NKC at 8:30 in the morning. Come and see me. Or tomorrow night I'm emceeing Guns and Hoses at Municipal Auditorium.
So, and then Sunday you rest.
Maybe.
And then you're going on a vacation.
Yes.
And you're not going to be in Monday morning.
No, Monday and Tuesday I'll still be in Kansas City, but a staycation then on Wednesday.
Oh, no. So you could come in on Monday morning.
I could if I wanted to.
You leaving me alone?
I don't want to.
I don't want that. Maybe we'll just call you on Monday morning.
By the way, if the Knicks win tonight, you'll be on with Pete Sweeney Jr. and Sr.
Oh, we'll get Senior on? That'd be great. Pete's already locked in from 6 to 8, so that's good.
Right.
That's good. And then we can ask Pete Sr. why Pete Jr. didn't buck up and go to the game. He has no reason not to be down there tonight. There's no reason.
It's history. That's all.
It's all it is just the Knicks win, because they've won the championship so many times.
This is amazing. More people have come up to this remote to meet Jimmy. He's got people coming up, hugging him. I haven't seen you in so long. They're doing the weird Power Cat.
Oh, they're doing the Power Cat deal.
All kinds of stuff.
Yes.
This guy is big off 151st and Black Bob. This is Jimmy's area. Right?
You draw a little 2-mile circle around that. It's Jimmy's world.
Get our sales stuff out here to sell him on remotes. They love him out here.
I just thought of it. How about Jimmy Easton World? You got Jimmy and Easton. That's that band, right? Jimmy
Easton's
World.
mad right now
because he's not getting hugs.
I don't know why you're mad. Because Jimmy's getting all the attention. That's why. Easton, all he does is work hard and he gets no attention. I'm here to see you, Easton.
Somebody go hug Easton. Next person goes up and hugs Easton. Steven will give you a hug too. You get a double hug. That's it.
You want to ask Jimmy why so many people are talking to him?
No, you find out and pass that on to me. We're not putting Jimmy on the air. He's getting a bunch of hugs right now.
Jimmy?
No, you need to tell us where you are because we got to take a break.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Where are you?
I am at Hy-Vee in Olathe off 151st and Black Bob. I'm here till 1 o'clock, and this is your last day to register to win tickets to the big soccer match at Arrowhead on June 20th or the Hy-Vee VIP watch party on June 13th. And they're going to have all kinds of stuff for you. And you can also get a copy of our 2026 Kansas City World Soccer Preview. And just while I'm here right now, I'll give them to you for free.
Free?
Until 1 o'clock because I like you. That's it.
Those aren't free anywhere else except that they're free everywhere. They are free for you. You can read Steven's story. Hey, listen, and Nate's got 2 stories in there because he loves soccer.
And with a giant picture that apparently, according to Jake, is AI.
No, everything's real about Nate.
That's what Jake says.
Go see Steven. Please, someone go hug Easton. Don't hug Jimmy. They're out there having fun at Hy-Vee. Have fun, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Oh, we got a house now. We got all these people here to see us. All right, thank you, Todd.
I won't talk to you again for a whole other week because you're leaving town on me. See you later, buddy.
All right,
that's Steven St. John. Go see him out there. They're having a good time. That is great fun. And I am going to be at Westlake Ace Hardware a little bit later, and we're going to have a good time there. I don't know.
Are you going to hug Jimmy out there?
I don't know if Jimmy's coming. If he comes out there, I'll hug Jimmy. Anyone wants to hug me, we'll see. Alex is going to be with me. You don't get to hug Alex, okay? You can hug Easton. Nobody gets to hug Alex. We're not working it that way. Welcome back into the zone. Todd Leabo in for Jason Anderson and Sterling Holmes. You just heard Stephen St. John. Just got a little bit of time to get out there to Hy-Vee and hug them all. Should be fun. Should be fun out there. And as a reminder, I will be, let me get my reading glasses out, make sure I get the right address, because there are 30 Westlake Aces in town. I'll be in Western Shawnee on Silver Hill, north of the Monticello Library. Today is the grand opening out there. When they do the grand openings, it's great. They have all kinds of stuff. Tomorrow will be pretty wild out there during kind of lunchtime tomorrow. They're going to have prizes, drawings, vendor demos, and stuff. But we're going to be out there today. They've got great new kitchen connection department from gourmet seasonings, jams, jellies, dips, mixes, all of that stuff. And, of course, grilling season is here. Check out the best brands in barbecue, plus a wide selection of grilling tools, charcoal, pellets, sauces, rubs, all of that. Come check me out today. We will be out there from 4 to 6, and Ace Rewards members get 20% off most items in the store. Ace Rewards is free to join. You should have an Ace Rewards. Michael, you're a young man. You're not a hardware store guy, but you should be. You got to become
Aces
one.
is great.
Ace is the place.
With the helpful hardware folks.
That's true. Easton is a young man. He's a little older than you, a little more advanced. So they were driving back. He and Bethany from the Wichita golf tournament the other day, and I answered my phone while I was mowing, and they were in the car. And Easton said he wanted to see a picture of the yard after I got done. I said, it's looking good because it's green. We had a lot of good rain, and I sent him a picture. Give me the thumbs up. He said he aspires to have a yard as nice as mine someday. So it's just hard work.
Do you mow the grass and then the grass goes into that little bag on the mower, or do you rake
I'm
the
a
grass?
mulcher.
Okay.
I mulch. And I usually double cut the front yard to make it look really nice. If I got time, I had time. That was Tuesday. And I took a little extra time. I got home early, did the nice edging, and then weed eating, mowing, and double cut the front. All of it looked great because we've had a good amount of just the right amount of rain at the right times. Not like 5 inches of rain one day. We get a little inch and a half here, a little rain here, a little whatever there, every 4 or 5 days, and it's going to get hot here next week. It's going to explode. We may hopefully get a little rain this weekend, so it'll be good.
Seems like it's rained on Friday the last 3 weeks.
And some nighttime rain, so I love the nighttime rain. Don't ruin my day. Just soak the yard at night, and then you're ready to go the next day and mow it up. Probably got to mow this weekend. I don't know. My wife gets really mad at me when I say, I think I may mow. I may mow. It's like one word, I may mow. And she's like, just mow and quit talking about it.
Will you have a beverage while you're doing it?
Not
or
while I'm doing it. It's not that big a yard. I'll have a beer afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mow, and I do pay someone to put the fertilizer and stuff down because
You don't want to break your back doing that?
No, I just did it wrong. My first yard, I had I'm gonna do this all myself. I can do all this, And I had a little spreader and all that stuff, and I had a really kind of steep yard, and I ended up when I should have gone sideways on the yard, but I went up and down, and so you walk slower up the hill, obviously. So it spread the stuff more thick on there. When you went down the hill, it went faster. So I basically striped my yard. I had some really thick fertilized areas, and I said, well, maybe this ain't for me. So I have someone else do that. But eventually, as I get older, I might take that back over, Take a little pride in my little quarter acre of the world.
I don't know if I'm going to be I'll have pride in my yard, but I don't know if I really want to spend all that much time doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good way to clear your head, get out there and mow, throw a podcast on.
Sure.
Listen to the 810 app.
That's what I do.
Yeah, while you're going. And then, or some music. Just chill out. And then put some nice stripes down. You got to get an edger, though. If you have a sidewalk, you need to edge. You got to use the edger because it makes it look nice. Finishing touch to make it look good. Have a little pride. That's what you should do.
Have a little pride about yourself.
Have a little pride in your yard. I want to play a soundbite here for you from Senator Ted Cruz, okay? Why? Because the United States Senate has got involved in college sports, okay? We've seen this for a couple of years now. They had, it's called there's two different names. They had the SAVE Act, and now it's the Protect Sports Act, whatever it is. It's not working very well. And you just saw the Big Ten and the SEC this week both put out statements saying that we don't like this thing, okay? Because, this thing's getting out of hand is what's happening. And they asked for help. You saw Nick Saban this week up on testifying somewhere about, NIL's out of control and all this stuff. I mean, so something has to happen somewhere, because I'm going to tell you this right now. These schools will not help themselves. They cannot help themselves. We were talking earlier, Texas Tech paying $1 million for a girl to play softball, paying $5 million for someone to play football who since he's been gambling on sports and may not get to play. How much money did Darren Peterson get paid at Kansas? Well over $3 million was what we heard, and there was no repercussion that he didn't really play. And Stokes is going to make money. How much money did the kid get to go from going to Kentucky, right?
Momchilovich?
Yeah. I mean, it's A.J. DeMonsa, millions of dollars.
Yes.
So it's got to stop, because they can't stop themselves. Major League Baseball's got a problem because Major League Baseball can't help themselves either. Someone is going to pay someone $70 million when they're 30 years old for a 15-year contract because they can't help themselves. I don't think the federal government's going to be able to fix these things. I don't know.
Wouldn't this be where the NCAA pulls their big boy pants up?
They
and
don't.
Says,
They don't have any big boy pants.
Clearly, because you can't continue to operate like these kids are not employees of your school. The teachers are employees.
Yes.
You treat that, they're not getting compensated like these athletes are.
No, that's the problem, because there's a lot of things that go along with being an employee. There's insurance, blah, 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 all these different things. So anyway, the interesting part of this quote, this is from a podcast that Ted Cruz was on. You kind of heard that these guys supposedly, I don't know, just listen to it. He mentions both the commissioner of the SEC and the Big Ten in this soundbite.
What I told, when I sat down with Sankey and Pertini, I said, listen, you're not going to be able to form a super league. You're going to lose the litigation on that. They disagreed with me on that. I said, it's fine. And I got to tell you, I probably have 100 votes to stop you from forming a super league. Like, that's probably right. And so that's actually one of the things people like about this bill. And I said, but you can think about it this way. So one of the benefits to negotiating collectively is you can do schedule optimization. You can schedule blockbuster game after blockbuster game. That generates more eyeballs, more revenue. And I said, you want to think about it this way. We are giving you legal protections to form a super league. But the price is you can't leave everybody behind. Right? If you take the rest of college sports with you, if you preserve, and a lot of my focus also was not on the big, incredibly successful programs, but all the other ones. And the Division II schools, the Division III schools, keeping the institution that is college athletics, preserving that is why it's called the Protect College Sports Act, because if we don't act, much of that's going away.
So I kind of like a lot of the things I've seen in both the Save one and what they call, but first was this one's called Protect College Sports Act. I like a lot of the ideas. I just don't think they're tenable, because the people can't help themselves. I mean, one of the rules is you can't make a super league, right? But this is what it's going towards. Because eventually, if someone has a roster that's $20, $30, $40 million, some other school can't do it. And so then it turns into you don't have competition. So they're like, well, let's just take the top 30 teams and make a super league. It bans it, so I kind of like that. They've got a Lane Kiffin rule in there that will ban you from actively recruiting coaches during the season. Good luck with that. I mean,
it all goes back to restricting free trade, restricting commerce. They can't do it. Like you said, it sounds good in principle, but you can't limit, especially children, like young men, young men and women.
But they're talking. Some of this is about coaches too. I mean, but I love the idea that you can't call a coach and say, I want to hire you while they're still coaching. But there's always a way around it. I haven't talked to them. My agent talked to their agent. That's how that works.
And that's why it always.
They're trying to fix the calendar. The calendar was terrible. It's getting a little bit better because all of this was happening at one time. And let's just talk about football. The portal was open. Coaches were getting fired. What happened last year? Everyone fired everyone early because they all wanted to get a jump. I mean, they were firing coaches in October last year.
Weeks 4 or 5.
Yeah, it was crazy. And everyone's like, I'm firing. When did Mike Gundy get fired? It might have been September.
It was early. I'm thinking of Penn State's coach, Franklin. He was gone.
I think Gundy was the first.
Yes, and he kind of set off the chain reaction.
Yeah, and then Franklin, after they lost the game at home, I mean, it was crazy. I like that. but these people cannot be stopped.
What I don't understand, and maybe you can explain this to me, how is it that these coaches who sign very detailed contracts, and the student athletes, I assume, do, how
By the
is
way,
it
Mike
that,
Gundy got fired on September 23rd.
so a month into the season?
Yeah. 3 games.
How do these contracts allow these coaches to, I mean, do they not have non-competes?
Yeah, the ADs and the presidents are idiots. You
Clearly.
can't, you at this point, I've said this a bunch of times. Here's the deal. 12 years ago, I got 1 year left on my contract. Yeah, I need an extension because I need to go to Johnny's house and tell his parents, I'm going to be your son's coach in 4 years. Okay? You had to do that because that's the way it worked. Now, if you can't build a program in 2 years, fire him because you don't have Johnny for 4 years. You know, Johnny's not going to be at your school for 4 years. Johnny's going to be here for maybe 6 months, and then he's going to transfer, go somewhere else. So if that's the way the game is played now, which is exactly how the game is played, why on earth would you give someone a 10-year contract?
Especially because why would you? I mean, everything is a 1-year rental because you're giving him $15 to $20 million on a roster.
Yes.
If that guy messes up, do you want to give him another $15 to $20 million?
Exactly. To try again.
Look at Mark Pope at Kentucky.
Yes. He kept getting money. And then so these buyouts, if the schools are going to pay the buyouts, I mean, bless them, I guess. Same way I feel about these Major League Baseball owners. If you're going to give a 29-year-old pitcher a 13-year deal and you're dumb enough to guarantee it, sorry, man, go ahead. But the ADs and presidents of these schools are as dumb as Major League Baseball owners when it comes to these things. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the government's involved. And there's all kinds of different.
What could go wrong?
I mean, there's all kinds of different things. I've listened to an interesting podcast. You know, antitrust laws, I don't understand them, but there's reasons for them, and somehow sports are involved in a lot of these things. So I like a lot of the ideas, but I also like that Indiana can go win a national title now. I like that. I like the idea
It's good
of
for
that.
the sport.
It's good for the sport, but now that's the expectation everywhere. It's not going to happen everywhere. But
it's only going to happen one place.
Cincinnati made a lot of people a lot of money. But he also cost a lot of people their jobs. But they're getting paid anyways because you get the money when you get fired. Mike Gundy is not eating beans out of a can, okay?
Being a fired football coach would be the best job in America.
It's the best. Or a hurt baseball player. It ain't bad. We'll talk a little KU baseball with Brian Haney coming up next. Welcome back into the zone on this Friday. Todd Leabo in for Jason Anderson and Sterling Holmes today. It's funny how this happens. They both go on vacation. I tell these guys never to go on vacation at the same time. It happened, but that's all good because we think sometimes it's not going to be busy in June, but it's busy in June, and no one's busier than this next guy we're going to have on, and that is Brian Haney, the voice of the Jayhawks football, basketball, and baseball. And, Brian, you are about as busy as you can be, and maybe you didn't know you're going to be this busy this week. You always have the Rock Chalk Round Ball Classic, but you got baseball in the middle.
Man, this is a blessing to be this busy. We got good stuff going on left and right. But, yeah, we just had our 18th annual Rock Chalk Round Ball Classic basketball game last night. Travis Relaford hits a buzzer beater on the run, literally with 1 second on the clock from 3, and the blue team prevails. But for folks that don't know, that's a pediatric cancer charity we've done for a couple of decades now and raised over $2 million. And last night was one of our very best games ever. And so we dust ourselves off, get ready for the big celebrity dinner tonight. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Super Regional's coming tomorrow. Very fortunate it worked out the way it did, with Kansas not only getting to host but play on Saturday, and cannot wait for a historic weekend at Hoagland Ballpark.
Yeah, this really would have been a problem if you were supposed to be in Atlanta tonight for a game or tomorrow.
Yeah.
It would have been a little
I
different.
looked at it. It's 12 hours and 38 minutes of a drive from my front door to the stadium in Atlanta, and I was thinking about driving through the night if we had to do it to get there. But now, thank goodness it worked out the way it did.
And, listen, there's a lot of things going on, and just logistically, we all kind of plan our lives around what's going on with sports. And our guys are on vacation this week because we got the World Cup coming up and all that. And you just really never kind of consider certain things could pop up. And I know Kansas baseball has been better, but there were probably not a lot of people who thought Kansas baseball would be hosting a super regional right now. They're 2 wins away from the College World Series. This is pretty fun.
Yeah, this has been incredible. And to see the way the fan base has responded with record crowds, Travis Goff and his staff expanding Hoagland Ballpark, now north of 4,000 fans. To be honest, for years, baseball was always kind of like an afterthought at the end of a long hoop season, and it was more of a novelty that you show up for 1 or 2 games just to get outside of the house and get some fresh air. It wasn't like appointment sports watching where you had to get your season tickets and you had to be there. But this is a rabid fan base now and a raucous student section that has certainly made its reputation, not just in the Big 12, but now nationwide after last weekend. So that's been a blast. But you're right, nobody really was forecasting this. And when we had to make a decision with the Round Ball Classic back in the fall to move it up to the start of June because of the World Cup and the fact that we were told that hotels and flights would be so tough to come by with the influx of all the soccer enthusiasts, I went to Coach Fitzgerald first day of October, and I said, Coach, just so you know, I may be a little pulled in all directions that first week in June during the Super Regionals because we're going to have to move the Round Ball Classic up. And Todd, he looks me in the eye just like deadpan serious and says, well, we'll be hosting the Supers, so you'll just have to walk from one side of campus to the other. You'll be fine. I don't know what you're worried about. And I kind of chuckled, and he just smiled at me and then turned and walked away dead serious. And I was like, okay, sounds good, Coach. And sure enough, here we are 8 months later hosting the Super Regionals. Pretty amazing stuff.
Well, he obviously knew he had a good team. But you don't know until you start playing. I mean, you're talking about back in October. Had some guys back, but there's always new influx of players in all the sports in college now, but especially in baseball. I mean, it's just the way it works. You find guys anywhere and everywhere and get them on your roster. Why do you think he had that confidence back then about this particular group?
Well, I think that the confidence stemmed from the fact that he had a junior pitcher in Dominic Vagley that was a Team USA guy a couple of years ago, and he had a returning All-American in Brady Bauminger that was second-team All-American a season ago, heading into his draft-eligible year, and really felt like he had 2 cornerstone stars to build around, and another All-Big 12 piece in the great Dariel Osorio, who was second-team All-Conference last season. But to be honest with you, Todd, the stars of this team really have emerged more from the junior college class of recruits that he brought in, and that was the other reason for optimism and hope. Kansas had just reeled in a 3rd consecutive number 1 rated junior college recruiting class, as in number 1 in the nation for 3 straight years. And the way I describe it to people is when the rest of the country was going heavy into the transfer portal and SEC schools that forever had primarily recruited high school seniors with, you know, maybe a JC guy here or there, maybe. Now they're spending their money on high school seniors and major conference transfers. And so that particular market starts to be lesser taps. And while everybody's zigging, he zags and goes heavy in the JC ranks, where he had a ton of connections from his coaching days up in Des Moines. And then obviously when he was a Dallas Baptist, on occasion they would recruit junior college guys there too. But a situation where he kind of swam upstream and found it to be a really fruitful market. And John Coyne, his recruiting coordinator, is just a phenomenal, charismatic recruiter, and this whole staff really is, quite frankly. And so, yeah, you had some cornerstone individuals from last year, but you also, on this roster overhaul, had some really highly touted JUCO guys, one of which, Tyson LeBlanc, who goes on to be your single-season home run record holder. And quite frankly, Todd, one of the all-time great Jayhawks. I mean, honestly, his legacy and legend continues to grow. He homered in every game of the regionals. Each of them were big home runs, not like a solo shot when you're up 10. I'm talking like down 3, homer to straightaway center field to go up 1. You know, Alex Gordon-type drama in the World Series for the Royals, if MLB fans want, you know, comparative reference. Just incredible stuff out of him. And so we've seen new names emerge and new household names and faces become stars at Kansas. And I think all of that is something he thought might be possible, but most of us outside of Fitz probably would not have envisioned it taking flight to this degree.
We're talking to Brian Haney. He'll be on the call of Kansas versus Oklahoma in Game 1 of the Super Regional tomorrow on Sports Radio 810, 5 o'clock start. Weather looks all right tomorrow, maybe not so great on Sunday. We'll see. Might be dodging some raindrops out there. But, Brian, I want to talk a little bit more about Coach Fitzgerald, because I think he's got a great, kind of career path to get to the right place at the right time. You talk about the junior college experience, and people maybe, if you don't pay attention to college baseball, he was a big part of the staff at Dallas Baptist for a long time. That team was in the tournament every year. Never made the World Series, but that is a team that you didn't want to play midweek if you're in one of these big leagues, because they would come bring it to you. Then he spent a year at LSU as an assistant, and then he got this job. What is it about his unique kind of career path that makes him perfect for Kansas?
Well, perfect for Kansas is this is a guy that understands that we don't have necessarily all the resources of an LSU or any of the SEC schools, quite frankly. But if you're willing to bust your tail and outwork everybody and take the road less traveled, leave no stone unturned on the recruiting trails, you got to work a little bit harder when you're playing at a cold climate school that has certainly, under Travis Goff, improved facilities, but still has a ways to go. And that's kind of the next step of what they're trying to do with a baseball indoor practice facility they can use in the winter months. I think that's the next huge piece on Fitz's wish list. But in order to take on a job that had been, competitive, but only 3 trips to the NCAA tournament in 20 years prior, you got to really get after it in ways that maybe come across as non-traditional, like I mentioned, with the heavy junior college recruiting emphasis. And if you want more context on that, Jeff Passan, Kansas City's own, wrote a fabulous article 2 weeks ago on ESPN.com that I'm so thrilled about for the publicity of our program. But at the same time, I think folks that read that and other programs around the country are going to think, man, we got to do what Kansas is doing. What's the model here? So, the cat's out of the bag on how the Hawks have assembled this thing. But the point is, he had to go about it with extra fervor, a slightly different approach. But on top of that, the guy's just special. I mean, natural leader. He's as good of a human being as anybody I've ever worked with in athletics. And that's not just coaches, that's anybody. And I think the players see that. It's genuine, it's authentic, it's real. And then obviously he holds them to a high standard because he holds he and his staff to the highest of standards, and they outwork everybody. And so I think, you could step into programs that have huge budgets and a Taj Mahal with a stadium or something like that, and it could be a little bit easier path. What he had going for him at Kansas that he wouldn't find at other schools, and what's kept him here, is tremendous relationship with the athletic director, a guy he trusts, a guy who has a shared vision with him, and they genuinely believe they can build this thing together and keep taking steps toward making it bigger and better with each passing year, not just with what Fitz is doing on the field, but with what Travis is able to equip him with and surround him with. And I think that was the big thing, and he would tell you that. You know, he had other offers, and we're not here to talk about what they were, but I can speak with some knowledge that, those places certainly had bigger, nicer, newer everything compared to Kansas when it came to facilities, but they didn't have Travis Goff. And that was the uncommon denominator that made Coach Fitzgerald pick Kansas and why I think we can keep him going into the future. But the good news is we're now getting nicer things and expanding the ballpark with each passing week, it seems, with each next round of the NCAA tournament, and that's really cool too. But can't wait to see these next few days, and hopefully it's a springboard for sustained, continued Big 12 championship caliber success for Kansas, and not make the regionals for back-to-back years for just the second time ever, but make this an annual expectation. Not that you always get there. That's pretty tough to ask for, but that you get there most times. Similar to Kansas football, when Leipold took them to back-to-back bowl games, and now you start to expect, okay, we want to be in the hunt for that every season we can be, and I think that's where Dan Fitzgerald has put Kansas baseball.
Yeah, Passon did a nice story there. He also did a nice story about Johnson County Community College on TV. He's got a couple of Johnson County kids on the team. I bet there'll be more because they won almost every game they played this year. We've got some really good baseball going around here. UCM made the Division II World Series. They got bumped, but this is kind of neat to have all these levels of college baseball going really well in our area, and I'm excited for this super regional coming up. You mentioned like the expectation of trying to get there. Listen, baseball has gotten wild. I heard Coach Fitzgerald talking about this earlier this week. It just turns over. I mean, every team in the College World Series last year, 8 teams, they're all gone this weekend. Not they're not getting back to Omaha. They didn't make it to a super regional. So this is getting to be a sport where it's really hard to continue. You can be really good in the regular season, but it is a crapshoot when you get in one of these regionals because you might have weather, you might have weird things, weird pitching matchups, something happens, rain, anything. That's why I like Kansas' position right here. They made it through pretty unscathed last weekend. You know, it was easy enough. They had a little strain here and there, but they didn't have to go real deep, didn't have to use a lot of different pitchers to get through. They're in pretty nice shape here. They're facing a team that had to play 3 games in 5 days and had to set out rain and all this kind of stuff and had to do it on the road, and they got to go on the road again. My expectation is Kansas is the better team here, but Oklahoma's a hot team, probably feeling pretty good. What do you like about this matchup for Kansas? Because it's only been a couple years since they've been in the league together. Almost everything's turned over. I think there's a couple of Sooners still left, maybe a couple of Jayhawks left, maybe when they played in 2024. But what do you think about this particular matchup?
Well, super impressed with Oklahoma, far more so than the 11th place finish in the SEC. You hear that and you think, okay, well, how good are they? And you're reminded by the fact that the SEC has, you know, half those teams in front of them are top 15 caliber teams in the polls, so it makes sense. I watched every pitch of their final game versus Georgia Tech, and power, speed, pitching depth, there's a lot to like here. But why do I like Kansas's chances? Because we're 21-5 at home, and they just have a belief, whether they're at home or away, that they're never out of any ball game. No opponent is out of their league. It's a mindset that one of last year's star players, who was a one-year Minnesota Mankato State transfer. You talk about going to the road less traveled and leaving no stone unturned. Jackson Hauge, who's now signed with the Mets organization, he coined them the never say die Hawks. And they just had this mentality that they could be down 5 to number 13 Arkansas and be getting shut out in their house halfway through the game, and then they erupt for 11 consecutive runs over 3 innings. That's what we saw last time out, and that's the mentality this program's had the last 2 seasons. And so playing at home with that fan base, with Dominic Vagley pitching on Saturday night, a guy that's going to be a top 3-round MLB draft pick next month, I think that's a heck of a way to start off the weekend. Mason Cook has become an option 1B type ace for you behind the 1A Vaguely, and he's been pitching some of the best of his life the last 6 weeks for Kansas. He's your secondary option. On top of that, it's the deepest Kansas bullpen in my 20 years of covering them. They've got more weapons, different kinds of ways to come at you. righty, lefty, different varying arm slots that are unique. And it's just really well constructed by Brandon Scott and his coaching staff, this pitching plan as you get deeper into games. And then the lineup 1 through 9 has no weak link in this thing. There is not an out you can take off in any regard, whether it's guys that get on base, guys that hit for power, guys that have that clutch factor with the timely hit. It's incredible how well they assembled this roster. And so I like, for all those reasons, the Jayhawks' chances certainly, but I'm very, very aware that the speed of this Oklahoma lineup will put pressure in the run game, and they've got some big boppers, as we saw with Taki and LeChance, the big Canadian who's hit 14 homers since April the 9th. I mean, this guy, he looks like a pro, just his physique and his imposing build. And so we got to be careful. It's a ballpark that can yield a lot of homers, 330 down the lines to right and left, and got to stay away from the big fly because that's obviously what ended Georgia Tech's season and certainly could give Kansas fits this weekend if Oklahoma continues that type of prowess.
My guess is you're going to be calling some home runs on both sides. I mean, both these teams can hit the ball over the wall. I do like the kid you mentioned from Canada. They call him the Big Maple. So he's a big.
I love that.
That's a great nickname. It's great. So I do. You mentioned like the pressure. What Oklahoma does a lot. I've watched some, not a ton this year of them because I would get frustrated because they would be winning and then they would lose. But they do run a lot. They try to steal bases. They take extra bases and all that. How is Kansas at fielding and doing the fundamental things to be ready for those plays like that you don't think may be coming all the time?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, this is going to sound really elementary, and it's easier said than done versus Oklahoma compared to Northeastern, but KU's first opponent last week was the nation's leader in stolen bases with 210 of them as a team.
Yeah, they tried to steal home in the one game on Friday, right?
They did. And that was the only time they tried to steal against Kansas. Why? Because of what I was getting at. They didn't let them get on base. And so obviously easier said than done, but keep the wrong guys or the right guys, depending on your perspective, off of the base paths and don't put that pressure on yourself. But Oklahoma has 3 guys, in my mind, that can run like the wind. And, you know, Augusto Mungarieta, who's got a pretty good pop time and has proven to be effective in gunning down runners, has got to have the series of his career when that speed tests the Kansas run game. But they're very sound defensively. The pitchers do a great job of keeping runners relatively close and being mindful of that. And it'll be a point of emphasis. But as Brandon Scott, the pitching coach, told me last week prior to Northeastern, who had 95 more stolen bases than anybody KU had faced all year, he said, we're not going to overemphasize it to the point where it's a mental thing in the pitcher's minds because ultimately that can become a distraction and you really want them to lock in on the hitter. But you better believe this team is so well prepared, and the scouting reports this coaching staff puts together, whether you're a hitter working with Tyler Hancock or a pitcher attacking opposing lineups with Brandon Scott, it's such an impressive coaching staff and really an all-star group assembled by Dan Fitzgerald. Honestly, 6 years ago, 2 years before he even got the Kansas job, he had designs of this group, this particular fivesome coming together, and the way it's all clicked and the way they get our guys ready on game day truly is something to behold.
We're talking to Brian Haney. He'll be on the call for the Super Regional. Kansas and Oklahoma have the games on Sports Radio 810, 5 o'clock on Saturday. Game 1 is important. Game 1's huge in a 3-game series, especially when Vagley is the guy who's going to be out on the hill. How big is it going to be to try to get that first one under the belt to not get behind the 8 ball?
Yeah, it's massive. And obviously there's nobody we'd rather run out there than Don Vagley. He is now just about 30 Ks shy of the school record in a career. And the guy that holds it, TJ Walls, Omaha native, by the way, did it in 4 years. He's got a chance to flirt with it in 3 if we pitch our way to Omaha, and he's got a couple more starts in front of him. But the point is, he's been outstanding. He had 2 15K performances in a 3-week stretch back in the middle of Big 12 conference play. He had 55 strikeouts over 5 weeks where he really came alive. And you look at the ERA, and his numbers don't sparkle there because he had some rough, crooked number type outings back in the early portion of the season. And even in some of his dominant starts, he'll give up 3 over 7 innings. But when he's truly on and he's mixing all 5 pitches, he is as tough to hit as anybody in the Big 12 and certainly one of the better pitchers in the country. And he's got that big game mentality where he wants the ball on a Friday night or in this weekend's case on a Saturday series opener. He wouldn't want to have it any other way. He's a cool customer, but man, you get him on that bump, almost 60 feet away, and he is ready to just absolutely bring it with a mentality and a mindset that he's going to take over a game. It's why I call him the Dominator, Dom Vagley, because that's what he's done for 3 seasons now. So perfect guy to have the ball. And then, as I said, kind of an underrated second weekend option in Mason Cook behind him, who was on the mound when we clinched versus BYU out in Provo, throwing a no-hitter into the 7th inning before finally just running out of gas. And then he was on the mound when we beat Oklahoma State in the Big 12 the Big 12 semifinal game to put us in a spot to play for a Big 12 championship versus West Virginia. He was the guy taking on the number 2 home run hitting team in the nation and gives up just 1 run in almost 6 complete innings, 1 off a career high in strikeouts. He's a big game pitcher too, and so Kansas clearly has a great chance here to really seize control early in the weekend. If Oklahoma gets to either one of those guys, though, man, an if-necessary game on Monday could be an absolute coin flip and anybody's guess there. Not that we don't like our third option, Matisse Nayrall has certainly had his moments this year, including 11 strikeouts at Cincinnati, but has been a little bit more up and down in the second half of the season, and so would really love to seize control on Saturday and Sunday and possibly even win this thing without having to get to a Monday. But let's just start with the Dominator tomorrow night and see how far he can take us.
But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you this. We're talking to Brian Haney. You've been calling Kansas basketball games, Kansas football games, Kansas baseball games. I know everyone in the world always asks you for a ticket or something like this. Where does the regional last week and the super regional rank with people coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, can you get me into the stadium, Fieldhouse, Park?
It's up there all of a sudden, and I promise you, it's people I've never heard from before about baseball. You know, and usually the way ticket requests go, you get that message on Facebook Messenger from somebody from high school you haven't heard from in 20 years. It's like, hey, how you doing? Great to see you, the voice of Jayhawks. Hey, can I have 4 tickets behind home plate?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And that's you know, fun to hear from folks. But at the same time, where you been before this baseball team caught fire? So yeah, I don't have any tickets. If you're listening, I wish I could help you. You know me, I try to help everybody I can. But in this instance, unless you were a player or a coach or one of our most generous donors, this was a tough one to get. So we're looking forward to being there on our credentials and trying to paint the most vivid picture we can for folks listening on Sports Radio 810 WHB, because there's not going to be many that are going to be able to honestly say they were in the house. But thanks to what they've opened up in the backyard and left, and now the backyard bleacher areas that they have beyond the right field fencing, there'll be more than ever before and another record crowd. But it's probably going to be one of those weekends where 10 years from now, 20,000 people say they were there, when in actuality it was a little more than 4.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. All right, Brian, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be over there covering the game tomorrow. I'll come by and say hello if we get a chance. It's going to be a great thing. I'm just so happy that we've got baseball going this time of year in our area, because I tell people all the time, if you get a chance, if Kansas makes the World Series, you just got to go up there. The College World Series is a wonderful experience. Win or lose, it's a great scene, and if you get a chance, you should go. No matter who's up there, but it's always better when you go up there and root for your team. So good luck to both teams. You know, I went to Oklahoma, but listen, here's the deal. I'll be happy for everyone on this one, because it's going to be a great super regional, I think.
I can't wait, man. Thanks so much, buddy. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right, that's Brian Haney talking Kansas baseball here on The Zone. He'll be on the call. Kansas and Oklahoma in the super regional this weekend on Sports Radio 810. Welcome back into the zone. I'm Todd Leabo. Got about a half an hour left. In for Jason Anderson. He's coming back Monday. Sterling will be back Monday as well. If this golf trip goes all right.
Is he going to be a changed man?
No. We hope he changes someday, but he's probably never going to change. Probably never going to change. Programming note, you just heard Brian Haney there. We will have the Kansas-Oklahoma Super Regional, Game 1, Saturday, 5 o'clock, Game 2, Sunday. This is all weather pending because Sunday is not looking great right now. But we'll have those games here, Jayhawk Network. Seren will have Dan Fitzgerald, the head coach of the Jayhawks, on today, so stay tuned for that. He's done a great job in his time at Kansas. 4 years in, and it's been amazing. Really has. They've made the tournament a couple of times in a row, got that regional, and then they won, and now they've got a super regional at home. Now, they didn't earn the super regional at home. Oklahoma gave them the super regional at home.
They did.
Now,
they did.
I'll say this. You were complaining earlier, Darcy, about these Arkansas fans, blah, 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 all this stuff. What I saw last Monday, whole bunch of Kansas fans, saying they didn't want to play Georgia Tech. They wanted Oklahoma to win so they wouldn't have to go there and all that stuff. Now you get what you asked for here. You're getting Oklahoma coming in. I don't know.
I hate to say it, Leabo. No shade to the Oklahoma Sooners, but would you rather go on the road to play Georgia Tech in Atlanta, or would you rather host?
Oklahoma just did that, and it worked out all right.
Sure, but would you rather host a Super Regional?
Yeah, you'd rather host
or go on the road.
You'd rather host a Super Regional. I know. I'm just having fun, but Oklahoma is a feisty team. They will battle and scrap, and from what I've watched of Kansas, same thing. These are very similar teams. This should be a fun Super Regional, and I love, what's kind of happened. We were talking about the Protect College Sports Act and, putting some guardrails on some things. I do think one of the things that NIL has done, which has been great, is it has gotten some other people in the game. Like we mentioned, Indiana football in the game, Texas Tech softball in the game. Texas Tech softball wasn't going to College World Series, but you start paying pitchers $1 million, you get to the College World Series. So it's getting some other people in the game. And listen, I went to a quote unquote blue blood school, and you don't want everyone in the game. Is Nick Saban up there whining that Alabama just can't dominate the world anymore because everyone's paying for players? Maybe there's a little bit to that, but the college baseball stuff is wild. By the way, West Virginia already up 11-2, Big 12. They're playing Cal Poly in theirs. So that ended up that was supposed to be UCLA, right? Is that what happened there? Because the upsets have been crazy in the baseball this year.
UCLA, Georgia Tech, 1 and 2, they're done.
Gone. And no team who was in the College World Series last year is alive today. Yeah, West Virginia is in Morgantown. They were supposed to be at UCLA. But Cal Poly ended up advancing. And then, West Virginia's fun too. So that's it. They're already up 11-2. I think they're going to World Series. I mean, they got the kiss on the cheek there with Cal Poly instead of UCLA. Because, by the way, St. Mary's did all the lifting over there. They're the ones who beat UCLA twice. And then they were out of steam and they couldn't beat Cal Poly. So we'll see. I mean, if Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma's a better team than Cal Poly. So this is a tougher challenge. But like you said, Kansas getting to play at home. West Virginia's got a regional at home. It's pretty cool for them. And they're super regional at home. So we'll see if West Virginia can make it. You can lose one or win one, or lose the first one and win the next two. But the first one is big. If you go back and look at all the data, you lose that first game, it gets hard to win. So game one is a big one for both these teams, but especially for the home team there. But West Virginia is out to a good start. That's the only game playing right now. USC, North Carolina, going to start at 2 o'clock, and then Little Rock and Troy, and then Auburn and Ole Miss, a little SEC on SEC crime right there. And then we got another one of those, Mississippi State and Georgia coming up. Georgia looks like maybe the strongest team left, but I don't know. It's baseball, man.
It comes down a lot to how good are your first three starters.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a good starting three, college bullpens are a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get.
Yep.
KU's bullpen's been pretty solid. But I think we'll see a lot of runs in this KU-Oklahoma regional.
I was surprised. Oklahoma, they had a lot of bullpen issues this year. So they had their game. It was an elimination game. They faced 2 elimination games because they had lost to Tech there. So this would have been the Sunday night game. They were down 8-2 or something, and came back and took like a 15-8 lead, or went up like 9-8 or 8-7 or something. And I was like, Tech scoring 13 or 14 runs. But Oklahoma kept scoring, and then Tech didn't score anymore. I was like, wow, this is a little impressive by Oklahoma's bullpen to be able to do that. And then they had another great job because they got behind early in the game on Monday, and they shut them down. So bullpens are huge, like you said. If you can't pitch the big outs at the end of the game, you're going to be in trouble. But I think we're going to see runs.
What's the over-under? Not the official over-under, but if you were to put an over-under.
15 runs. I mean, I think we're talking about 8 to 7. Maybe I'll put it 12.5 or something like that.
These could very well be 13 to 11 ball games.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they just played, right? 13 to 10 against Arkansas. Oklahoma just played 9 to 8, 15 to 8, whatever. So there's going to be some runs for sure. But the bracket is pretty crazy looking. I'm going to check real quick on the D2 scores because UCM did lose in the World Series, so they are out. But they will have the semifinals are coming up. Westchester and Tampa. Tampa's a monster in D2 ball, so that's coming up. But the D1 is going to be a lot of fun. And the College World Series and Women's College World Series ended last night. Texas with the sweep of Texas Tech, beat them 2 years in a row. Little old Southwest Conference fight down there in Oklahoma City.
I wonder what Texas's money looks like versus Tech, because we know the story about
Tech's paying money.
Oh, we know Tech are.
Yeah. Texas is paying money too. But the thing was just eye popping. I've heard numbers. I mean, I've heard a lot of these girls just $200,000-$300,000. I mean, just run of the mill. Okay, because it's not football. You have 85 guys. You don't need to pay 30 softball players. You need to pay decently pay
9, 11,
6 or 8 of them maybe. But I think. Maybe, and this is not a lesson because Texas Tech made the final twice, but should you pay $1 million to one of your players, even though the pitcher is the most important thing?
In softball, it might be a little bit different just because you can pitch more. Like if you're going to pay, a pitcher on KU's staff 6 figures, but he can only go 6 or 7 innings
softball makes
one
sense.
day.
I agree with you, but still, I mean, after a while, I mean, they have seen her enough, and eventually it just kind of catches up. She ended up giving up a couple runs last night. It ended up being 4-1 final. I think there was an error. It happens. It's college athletics. It was an error that led to a couple runs, but then it was a bomb that kind of blew the thing open. She gave up a bases loaded triple to the girl from Kansas City on the first day. But I mean, listen, they've faced her a bunch of times. So you've seen enough of what's going on. So I don't know what the right thing is. I think if you put too much on one player with the money, you can't pay enough of the other players because Tech had a pretty good offense this year, but they score 1 and then 2. They scored, I think, 3 runs in the championship series.
Maybe they use those analytics to figure out, okay, if we pay a little bit less for our pitching staff, then we can.
Well, I'll say this. The best pitcher looked like the Texas girl from Iowa. Whatever I can't say her last name right. Tegan Cavan or whatever. She started the first game, and then she came in and pitched the last 2 innings last night. 5 strikeouts. One girl popped up. I don't think she's making $1 million, but she's making something. It's crazy. And the thing is, it's gotten because softball can be a revenue sport for you because these games are on TV now. Oklahoma built a new softball stadium. Their coach makes $1 million. It's crazy, but the money's out there. But I don't know if it's everyone's spending money and not everyone's winning a title. It's turning into professional sports. The Mets have a payroll of what? $380 million?
Number 1 in baseball.
Did they make the playoffs last year?
No, they actually, and there was a stretch, and they might have won a few games. Maybe they didn't, but the Royals and the Mets had the same record at one point earlier on this season.
Right, yeah. The Mets are getting a little bit better, but everyone is paying money. I mean, the Chiefs paid a lot of money last year. They didn't make the playoffs. How much money has Deshaun Watson made? He made the playoffs. So college sports, people are just going to have to get used to, hey, quote unquote, air quotes, we are paying money for this roster in whatever sport it is, softball, baseball, football, basketball. Kansas has spent a lot of money the last few years in basketball. They spent a lot of money on Hunter Dickinson for a couple of years, and he was a good player, but they didn't do anything with him. They didn't win enough with him. They spent a lot of money on Darren Peterson. They didn't get very far, So that's just you have to just accept the fact that everyone's spending money now, and maybe you don't get to win all the time anymore.
But I'm happy to hear that some of the, I even hate to call them lesser sports, but you see the way that athletic departments pour resources into football and basketball. And so sports like softball, baseball, you might even go down to like cross country. They don't get the love, but apparently some of these kids, boys and girls, are making
because there's
figures.
There's no softball money out there in professional softball. There's this professional softball league. It's starting here. They're gonna make a little bit of money. Najee Kennedy is never gonna make the kind of money she made playing softball professionally that she just made the last 2 years.
Changed her life.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
It's wonderful. It's great. So go ahead and take it because it's probably not going to last forever. Life is timing. It's been the greatest thing in the world to be a college athlete the last 5 years. You know, to be able to take your talents elsewhere. You know, how many
the gold rush?
How many people have you seen play for 3-4 schools in basketball or football or whatever, or go back and forth? People go back to a school, get a little bit of money, do a little something. Hopefully, they're all smart with their money. Probably aren't because they're young. Probably not going to be smart with your money. But if you got $1 million a year for the last 2 years when you're 21 and 22 years old, as a girl who's obviously very smart, she got into Stanford and played at Stanford for 2 years, you ought to be, maybe you have to work for your life, but you should have a leg up on anyone else you went to high school with who is out there puttering around trying to get a job as even an engineer or a doctor or something like that.
It just offers more opportunities.
Yeah.
It allows you to maybe pick what you want to do.
Well, that's why that, like a super league and you know, schools breaking away just on football, that would eliminate a lot of those opportunities for people at the smaller schools. That's that bite we paid from Ted Cruz earlier. Because, you know, we've already seen sports get cut in many schools because they can't afford some of these things. So not everyone's all in on it. Like schools like Stanford don't pay a lot of money for these athletes because they feel like they're an academic institution or whatever. Are they going to just keep funding scholarships? Now, they've got an endowment that's billions of dollars. Maybe they will keep doing that. I don't know. But they have more sports than most schools have. You look at Kansas or Kansas State, and the number of sports that they sanction and play, it's small potatoes compared to a lot of these schools out west. They've got all these sports we don't care about, you know, swimming and diving and all those kind of things. So those are opportunities for someone to go to college, not just to swim. It's an opportunity to go to college and maybe get half a scholarship or something like that. And it's all changing. I don't know where it's going to go because if you ask me, it's a little bit like where's the stadium going to go? You ask me a different answer every 6 months, I'd tell you something different. And I kind of feel that way about college sports. Sometimes I think, oh, they're going to break away and do a super league. Then I hear the senators go, nah, you're not doing that. We got the votes. You're not doing that. I don't know what's going to happen.
And going back to your point about how a lot of these kids are playing for 3 or 4 different schools, you're seeing it with the professional leagues, and it's starting to have an impact on the draft. There are NFL players that are coming out that are 24, 25 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And in the NBA, it doesn't affect the guys like Darren Peterson, Boozer, DeBonsa. Those guys are going top 3 to 5. But a lot of those late first round, early second round guys, why would you go take a pay cut to play either for an NBA team on your rookie contract or a G League contract when you could go be Momcilovic, who comes back to school, goes to Kentucky, and is making like rumored $6 or $7 million? Why would you suffer in the G League when you could stay in school and make money that you couldn't even make in the league?
Yeah, you know, the Chiefs loved drafting Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, even like FAU. They were like 20 years old when they got drafted. Xavier Worthy was 20 years old when he got drafted. And it's been hard for them because they love drafting those young guys early because they're like, they haven't been beat up yet. We can teach them all this. But it's weird. I mean, they're drafting 23-year-olds, like you said, because they've been around. Hey, I don't know if you saw this earlier. We were just joking about the Royal Stadium and all that stuff. Did you see what the Bears said?
I think they're moving to Indiana.
The Chicago Bears Board of Directors met and voted to advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana, with the next site to be selected. We believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region, connecting northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the Loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver opportunities to its residents and businesses.
The Indiana Bears.
That one shocks me. Last week we had Mark Carman from Chicago on the drill when I was on with Petra. I'm like, where's this going? And this has been going on up there as long as it's been going on around here. And he was like, I don't think it's happening. But you never can tell. This is different than Kansas and Missouri.
Very different. This would be like the
Very
Chiefs
different.
playing in Iowa.
Yeah, or like if the St. Louis Cardinals moved to Illinois. Like that's just a whole different other thing over there, you know? And Chicago, and it's all part of the city. But wow, I am shocked. But you stick around long enough, you'll see anything. Indiana Bears, I bet they don't change their name. But.
Are they paying for, are the owners paying for that stadium? Or
Oh,
is
no,
that
no,
gonna
no,
be,
no.
I guess that's probably part of the reason
That's
why
part of the
they're
reason.
moving.
They had this land acquired that they wanted a bunch of,
The Asperia campus in Indiana.
well, no, it's not that. It's a bunch of industrial area over there, I guess. But they initially were up there, and they were going to. There's this old racetrack it's empty, and the Bears were going to move there to this racetrack area. Arlington, I guess, is what it's called. But then they were fighting over who can get there, and that's the trains go there. It was all going to be great because as much fun as it is for us as outsiders to go to a game at Soldier Field. Because it's beautiful. It's right by the lake. You stay at a hotel. You take a little bus down there, train, whatever, you go do it. If you live in the burbs of Chicago, it's a pain in the butt to go down there on a Sunday. So I think there was some thought that they wanted to kind of get out of there and have a development because there's some room around Soldier Field, but you're not going to get to develop like what the Chiefs want to develop or the Royals want to develop around Soldier Field. That's where the museum is, the planetarium, all that stuff. So they were wanting to do something out in the suburbs, and they couldn't get it all done because they were fighting with the governor, and all this stuff. Illinois got financial problems, everything. Indiana's like, here we come. Let's go. I'll bet Chicago's going crazy right now. All right, one more segment to go on the zone. Petro is coming up next here on this Friday. Welcome back into the zone. Wrap it up here. This is the cuts part, right? Sometimes there's time, sometimes there's not. So I just say, give me the cuts, Darcy.
Give you the cuts?
Give me the cuts. That's what I say. You give me one?
I mean, you can't really tell the girth on that thing.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Looks girthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could probably put that down.
So who's
It's not even,
listening?
you can't even get the whole thing in there.
Yeah.
And a little.
I'm
little
looking
taste.
at it. It looks.
It looks good.
You said what's the? It looks like a
Girthy?
fat wiener.
Yeah.
If you see, well, you laugh all you
Looks
want.
like a what?
Look right there. You can see the tip. See.
Oh yeah, you can. It's
Just the tip.
compared like to
So his mouth.
mouth to tip
Jason's
ratio
always
looks
listening. Who was listening this on Monday morning and said pull that one?
I don't know. This is a favorite of mine. I wish he was here to hear it.
That was
And
the
that's a
beef
lot of
Wellington.
meat for one man. I had one in my mouth when you asked, "Are you ready to go?" And I said yes, and proceeded to put one more in my mouth.
Sterling at the golf tournament on Monday.
Yep.
They brought him some food, didn't they? They brought him some meat.
Are you trying to say yours is bigger?
Any reference on that?
No idea.
No idea. Who's
I
pulling
want to
these?
bang for
Is
this.
No.
This is the pounding table.
Is Kyle pulling all these? Is that what happens?
I pulled that one.
Okay.
I am just Dandy Saran, and I don't know a time that I never don't need crack filling. So
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
I've stolen a fry off my little brother, his plate, and he's 14, and he goes, "Watch it, fat boy." That was like 2 weeks ago.
Poor Kyle.
I said I would have taken Berwanger if somebody called.
Well, if he said, he might have been different if he'd have said, I'm going to play, but no, he said, I'm going to Toledo and I'm going to work in the rubber business.
I don't know if you heard this. but-
Tires.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up, Pete. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he
Glad
wasn't
we
a
didn't leave that
Trojan.
hanging.
No.
That's big rubber country in Ohio. It's where they make all the tires. That's what Pete was talking about.
And finally, we got the big Champions League final coming up this weekend. Danny Klingscale just sat down. He's a gooner, okay? Is he going to be happy or sad when it's over?
Yeah, my favorite part about Danny was he didn't know when the game was.
And that's a lot of meat for one man. I had one in my mouth when you asked, "Are you ready to go?" And I said yes, and proceeded to put one more in my mouth.
Play that one more time. Did you already close it? There's Easton. He got hugged.
And that's a lot of meat for one man. I had one in my mouth when you asked, "Are you ready to go?" And I said yes, and proceeded to put one more in my mouth.
That's actually live from the golf trip. Sterling's on in Nebraska right there. It's a live feed. Program coming up next. I'll be out at Westlake Ace.